Chapter 605. Li Siqing gasped, carefully grasped the tree trunk, and whispered, "Unfasten the child's seatbelt, help her up, and leave it to me." Su Qianxi heard this voice, and was slightly dazed. She looked at him incredulously, as if she wanted to look into his eyes through the pair of sunglasses. It's him! It's him! This voice, deeply familiar, followed her for 2 lifetimes. Over the years, it constantly echoed in her memories and dreams, so clear and so familiar. It's really him! It's really him! Su Qianxi forgot to breathe for a moment, did not dare to move, and did not dare to touch. What if when she reached out he was gone again? Quick! There's no time! Li Siqing growled, and in his voice, there was calmness and fear. Don't move, calm down. Hearing this voice again, Su Qianxi's mind was blank, and there was only one thought left. It's him, it's really him. He's here to save them. However, Su Qianxi quickly reacted and carefully unfastened the child's seat belt. Mom, you lost. Li Jianyue opened her eyes and said in a sweet and childish voice. Her face was streaked with dried tears and she was grinning. This little girl still did not know her situation. Li Siqing's heart was slightly sour, and there was a surge of soreness in his eyes. This was the first time he was so close to his daughter, so close. After 4 years, he could finally look at his daughter face to face. She was really beautiful, just like her mother, very beautiful. Li Siqing tried to calm himself down and reached out to her. But it was also because of this movement of Su Qianxi's. The sound of the overwhelmed people below rang out. There were a lot of exclamations and the screams continued. For the first time, Su Qianxi felt that she was so close to death. It was truly soul-stirring. It was even more frightening than her previous death. Her heart almost jumped to her throat, but inexplicably, although Su Qianxi's body was numb and even slightly trembling, her movements were very stable. This was also the first time that Su Qianxi felt that she could be so calm. She coaxed, "Ursu, don't move, follow Dad down." Dad, it was just 2 words, but they were like a mallet that fiercely smashed into his heart. It was so ruthless, so heavy, and it gave him an unlimited impact in feeling. Throbbing like crazy, Li Siqing felt that he could not stand it anymore. Even his hands were trembling with excitement. He whispered, "Don't disturb me. Hurry up." Li Jianyue was lifted by the collar. When she heard the unfamiliar word daddy, she blinked her eyes and asked, "Where is Daddy?" "Here, Daddy is here." Li Siqing pursed his lips and reached out to pull Li Jianyue over. He shouted, "Someone come and help." Shuangyu jumped down and waved at Li Siqing. Li Siqing carefully moved down, holding the little guy in his arms and slowly moving down. Shuangyu immediately ran down there, raised her hands and waved at him. Li Siqing put the little guy down and said, "Follow Auntie Shuangyu. I will let go. You jump down 1, 2 jump." Li Jianyue was quite cooperative. She jumped into Shuangyu's arms and laughed loudly. Making sure her daughter was safe, she finally let out a sigh of relief. He carefully moved toward her. Dash. Chapter 606. Li Siqing felt himself trembling. He was scared. For the first time in his life he was so scared. In the past few years, his life had been on the line countless times, but he had never been really afraid of anything. But now Li Siqing was so scared that he was trembling. Calming himself down, he moved up and ordered, "Unbuckle your seatbelt and give me your hand." Su Qianxi heard this familiar voice and cried happily. Her tears kept flowing, but her smile was infinitely wider. He was here. It was him. It was really him. For 4 years, how many times had she fantasized about meeting him? For 4 years, how many times had she looked forward to his return? But even if she had 10 hearts and 10 brains, she could not imagine that they would meet again in this way. Her Mr. Li Siqing was back. Unbuckling her seatbelt, Su Qianxi reached out and touched his palm. Her heart, which had been hanging for 4 years, suddenly calmed down. Because of the fear of death and falling, her body trembled slightly, but because of his palm, she suddenly calmed down. So what? As long as he came, she could live. As long as he came, she would not die. It was like this every time, wasn't it? Su Qianxi held his hand firmly and tried to stand up. She did not dare to move too much, carefully. But at this critical moment, there was nothing under her feet, and the feeling of weightlessness hit her unexpectedly. Su Qianxi's pupils shrank, and a lot of screams pierced her eardrums. Louis Han stood in the crowd and looked at the two children. At this moment, seeing this scene, his face suddenly turned pale and he shouted, "Qian! Ah!" In the crowd there was a lot of chaos. Screams and cries were all mixed together, turning into a noise that was difficult to cover up. Bang! A model airplane seat fell to the ground, smashing a hole in the cement floor. Dust flew and people exclaimed. Under the blazing sun, the man on the branch was holding a woman's hand tightly. He clenched his teeth and his face was cold and stiff. His legs were climbing on the branch, and he was as steady as Mount Tai. Shuang Yu put Li Jianyue down and caught Su Qianxi with a pale face. Su Qianxi was soaked. Looking at the man on the top, she narrowed her eyes, gasped and smiled. Li Xiqing also let out a sigh of relief. The sweat on his forehead had seeped through his clothes and dripped down. Seeing that she was safe and sound, Li Xiqing turned over and went back the way he came. She felt a bit weak in the knees, but she quickly got up and walked toward him. The ride started up again, and the parents and children, who had been scared out of their wits, came down again with pale faces. As soon as Li Xiqing landed, he pressed on his hat and glasses. Walking quickly, he blended into the crowd and disappeared in a flash. Su Qianxi was shocked and immediately ran after him. But when she squeezed into the crowd and tried to find him again, she could no longer see him. He actually ran away. How could this be? How could this be? She couldn't get through the crowd and yelled, "Li Xiqing!" Hearing her cry, he walked faster, lowered his hat, and ran out of the crowd. Su Qianxi squeezed out, and when she came back to herself, Li Xiqing had already disappeared without a trace. His heart instantly panicked. Chapter 607. People were coming and going, the laughter of children, the whispers of pedestrians, the warning of safety announcements, and the discussion of the crisis. All kinds of sounds mixed together. But Su Qianxi felt her ears were cool, and her mind was blank. All that was left was a silhouette of his back. Tall and straight, much thinner than before. Wearing a hat and sunglasses, he slightly lowered his head and strode forward without hesitation. He didn't even turn his head or look at her once. He just disappeared into the crowd. Just like the big explosion that year, he disappeared without a trace. Su Qianxi stood at the intersection, looking thin and embarrassed, like a child who had lost her parents. There were no amusement facilities here. In front of her was the edge of the amusement park. Climbing over the high rockery was the outside of the amusement park. It was a dead end. "Li Xiqing, Li Xiqing!" Su Qianxi shouted, her voice trembling. Her crying made her voice sound a bit hoarse. She looked around for a week, going around in circles. But there was nothing. Many people looked over, but he was not there. There was not even a shadow. He didn't even want to look at her. Su Qianxi felt a dull pain in her heart, and she felt that she was about to suffocate. Every time it was the pain he gave her, so hard. "I know it's you. Where are you?" No one responded. Quite a few people glanced at her and hurriedly walked away. Just then, sweet music sounded, and the unique voice of Yang Zuoma came into her ears. "Remember, you promised me that you would not let me find you? But you flew so far with the migratory bird returning south. Love is like a kite with a broken string. Can't hold the promise you made. Last time I suddenly couldn't find you. I was scared. I thought something happened to you. There won't be a next time. If I disappear without telling you anything like that day, you can punish me when I come back. I won't resist." What he said seemed to be still ringing in her ears, so clear. At that time, he held her in his hands, hugged her, kissed her gently and said softly, "You can punish me however you want." The sun was very bright. Under the blazing sun, Su Qianxi was at a loss, squatting down and crying helplessly. "Why do you have to leave? Honey, I miss you so much. Can you come back?" Li Xiqing's back was pressed against the rockery. The temperature was very high, but Li Xiqing did not move. Hearing her cries behind him, Li Xiqing's heart spasmed violently, affecting his tear ducts. The dam that he had been guarding for more than 20 years was mercilessly broken. I'm here. With the back of his head against the rockery, Li Xiqing felt his throat hurt. Listening to her crying, he felt even more guilty. He wanted to pick her up and protect her in his arms, just like before, so that she wouldn't cry, so that she wouldn't suffer. He also wanted to help her dress every day, help her bathe, remind her to wear shoes, and warn her to keep warm, just like before, just like 4 years ago. But now was not the time. He couldn't go back yet. He couldn't expose himself yet. Give him another 2 months at most. Chapter 608. Qianqian. Louis Han's voice suddenly broke into Li Xiqing's ears. His originally half-closed eyes suddenly opened, and he turned his head to look in that direction. Louis Han took the 2 children, and Shuangyu was holding his daughter, walking toward his woman. The dazzling parent-child outfit was even more obvious in his eyes. He wanted to kill him. That was his, all of it was Li Xiqing's. What right did Louis Han have to wear that outfit and accompany his woman? Li Xiqing almost couldn't help rushing up and punching him. Suddenly, he heard the voice of Jing Sa. Where did you go? You were photographed, do you know that? Hearing this, Li Xiqing calmed down a lot, pressed the sapphire earring on his ear, and whispered, How did you know it was me? Earring. Jing Sa's angry voice came. And your wig. Your sunglasses are all bought by me. Do you think I'm blind? That woman can't recognize me. I hope so. Finish your business and come back soon. Okay. Li Xiqing responded and looked back in their direction. No one noticed the existence of Li Xiqing. Louis Han walked to Su Qianxi, squatted down and whispered, What's wrong? He doesn't want me, Han. He really doesn't want me and the children. Su Qianxi's voice was very choked. It was him just now, he saved us. Louis Han was dazed. He knew best who Su Qianxi was talking about. However, how was it possible? Li Xiqing had died long ago. He had been dead for 4 years. Forever left in the abandoned factory in the eastern suburbs, never to return. How could it be him? Louis Han looked at Su Qianxi, but his expression was indescribably calm. He held her shoulder and said, The children are hungry. Let's go back first, okay? Su Qianxi shook her head and looked up at Louis Han, a pair of wet eyes pleading. Han, help me find him, okay? He is here. I am very sure he is here. Can you help me find him? Then, there were tears in her eyes, and she cried sadly, I can't find him. He is hiding. Louis Han pursed his lips, helped her stand up and said, Let's go back first. Han. Enough, Qianqian. Louis Han's voice was a bit fierce, and his pair of peach blossom eyes looked at her with a bit of sharpness. He is dead. He died a long time ago. You are hallucinating again. That is not him. It is just a kind passerby. No, it is really him. Even if his voice turned to ashes, I would still be able to recognize it. It's him, it's him. He is not dead. She was a bit hysterical and pushed him away. It is not an illusion. I am very awake now, Louis Han. Su Qianxi scared Li Jianyue, holding Shuangyu's neck and crying. The crying of the child made Su Qianxi's tear ducts even more. Chapter 609. Each question went straight to Li Xiqing's heart. Don't cry. Don't cry. Li Xiqing looked there, narrowed his eyes slightly, reached out, and pretended to touch her face, wiping her tears. In his memory, that soft touch felt like it was right beside his hand. Every inch of it made him unable to let go, unwilling to let go of it in the slightest. Sorry. Li Xiqing finally glanced at her, then climbed the rockery, crossed the high wall of the amusement park, and jumped down. He still had business to do. Mom. Li Jianyue reached out her little hand and wiped Su Qianxi's tears. Her big eyes were wet, and there were tears on her pink face. Mom, who are you talking to? Your father. The person who just took you down is your father. No, Li Jianxian suddenly said. Mom, you are hallucinating. That is not my father. Su Qianxi turned her head, looked at Desu incredulously, and said with absolute certainty, It is your father. Then it is your father. No, Dad is dead. Everyone knows that Mom has paranoia. What you just saw was an illusion. Li Jianxian looked at Su Qianxi firmly. Let's go home, Mom. Even you don't believe me. Looking at Louis Han and Shuangyu's eyes, Su Qianxi suddenly felt very ridiculous, but she could not laugh. Holding Li Jianyue, Su Qianxi's tears were even more turbulent. She walked to a shady place and stood still. He is nearby. There is no way out. I don't believe he can run. I will wait for him here. Lu Yihan looked at her, and his heart felt like it was crawled by a group of devils, itchy and crazy. He wanted to wake her up and tell her that Li Xiqing was dead. In such a big explosion, it was impossible for anyone to survive. Who could survive such a big fire? Su Qianxi had been looking everywhere for 4 years. Although there was no news, she still did not give up. In the past few years, he had taken her to see a lot of psychologists and experienced a lot of things. But she always believed that Li Xiqing was still alive. He was not dead. How was it possible? Everyone knew how Li Xiqing treated Su Qianxi. If he was still alive, why didn't he come back? Lu Yihan felt like he was going crazy, but he still took a deep breath, stood with the 2 children and said, "Let's wait for a while. If he doesn't show up in 15 minutes, we'll go back, okay?" She bit her lip and did not speak. The sun was getting bigger and bigger, and the sunlight was already slanting over, shining at their feet. 20 minutes later, the legendary Li Xiqing still did not show up. "Mom, I'm hungry," Li Jianxian said, looking up at her with a pair of dark eyes that were as clear and clean as Li Xiqing's. Li Jianyue pouted and said, "Mom, I'm hungry too." Li Mosen's stomach growled, but he didn't say anything. Lu Yihan stood next to Su Qianxi and reached out to Li Jianyue. "Uncle, carry me." Li Jianyue crawled towards Lu Yihan, pouted and asked, "Shall we go for pizza? I haven't had pizza in a while." "Ask Mom," Lu Yihan said. Chapter 610. Su Qianxi walked behind them, looking back every few steps. However, that figure still did not appear. After eating with the children, Su Qianxi went straight home to take a shower, change clothes, and fell into bed. Su Qianxi kept receiving notifications on her Weibo. She opened it and saw many private messages from netizens, as well as countless at S. One by one, without exception, they were all about what happened at the amusement park today. The angles of the pictures were very clever, each showing their expressions and the image of Li Xiqing. However, without exception, so many photos, Li Xiqing did not look like the old Li Xiqing at all. He disguised himself so well that even she did not recognize him the first 2 times. There was also a blogger whose title was particularly eye-catching. The wife of the former president of LS, the current president Su Qianxi, cried out her late husband's name at the amusement park. In less than 3 hours, the replies had exceeded 30,000, and the number of likes was almost 100,000. Su Qianxi saw the picture. She was squatting on the ground, crying awkwardly and miserably. She couldn't help chuckling, but her eyes couldn't help being wet. It turned out that she was so miserable at that time. In that situation, Li Xiqing actually did not come out. Did he really not want them anymore? Why, for 4 years, there was no news from him. Now that he finally appeared, he escaped so quickly? Was it because he took drugs so he did not dare to face them? Yes, he took drugs, and Tang Minjing had been imprisoning and abusing him over the years. How did he escape? Su Qianxi was enlightened. Yes, he was such a proud man. How could he come back to her in such an image? What did he want to do? There must be a reason for him to hide, right? Su Qianxi suddenly got up and stared ahead. The golden afternoon sun penetrated through the white and clean window screens, turning into mottled golden spots that hit the ground. It was quiet, but it rippled along with the gentle breeze. Su Qianxi's heart was beating like crazy, and at the same time, she was also in pain. He was hiding. Did he want to quit drugs on his own? It was possible, very possible. No. Would a drug addict have that much strength? How could he be so agile? Su Qianxi had learned fighting from Li Jinan for more than 3 years. Although she had only learned 1/10 of Li Jinan's skills, it was more than enough to deal with ordinary gangsters. However, not only was she unable to gain any advantage from Li Xiqing, she was even subdued several times. After 2 moves, she could be sure that Li Xiqing's fighting ability was definitely no less than that of Li Jinan. With such skills and strength, could such a person be a drug addict? However, she could hear everything clearly through the bug. Li Xiqing's howling, his pain, and his desperation. The punches that landed on the flesh wound over and over again, and Tang Minjing's creepy and sick laughter. How real was that? What's going on? What's going on? Su Qianxi's head was a mess, and her ears were ringing. With tears in her eyes, she took out her phone and found a photo of herself with the two children. After putting cute animal icons on the faces of the two children, she attached the photo and posted on Weibo. Chapter 6:11. In the busiest commercial street of Kingstown, Li Xiqing entered a well-decorated chain noodle restaurant and ordered a bowl of noodles for himself. When he was halfway through eating, a girl at the table behind him suddenly exclaimed and said, "Su Qianxi posted on Weibo." Li Xiqing paused eating and holding his chopsticks. "Oh, it's so sad." One of the girls' voice was full of sympathy. Her husband has been dead for so many years, and she still thinks he is still alive. I heard that she is neurotic. She misses her husband all the time. It's a mild delusional syndrome. I heard that she often has hallucinations that her husband will appear next to her. Oh, but she still manages such a big company very well. Damn, even a psychopath can do this. Why are we still so low? The girl sneered as she ate. Then you'll need to have such a big company to take over. I heard that it's not just Su Qianxi who did it. Her husband's younger brother, Su Qianxi's uncle, is also the vice president. So what if she has a company? She is still a widow. A young and beautiful woman, with two children to manage a company. If it were me, I would remarry. What's wrong with doing in my prime? Why should she be a widow for a dead man? You're not her. How would you know what she's thinking? Maybe she's really in love with that ghostly Li Xiqing. You used to regard him as a Prince Charming. Now he has only been dead for a short time, and you have forgotten his name. How cold the world is. Li Xiqing listened to their words, silently finished the noodles, and got up to leave. He found an internet cafe in a remote alley. The owner with a cigarette in his mouth asked, "How long do you want to play? Can I play without an ID?" The boss looked him up and down, took off the cigarette and said, "Sure. $5 an hour for others, $20 an hour for you." The innermost machine has a separate compartment. That is a VIP room, and no one will go in there. Li Xiqing directly took out a $100 bill, turned around and walked in. The owner took the bill and checked it. After making sure it was real, he opened the machine for him. The legendary VIP room was just a small, dark compartment with a computer inside. It was the most classic XP system. A little kid was sitting on the ground with his butt bare. When he saw him come in, he raised his head to take a look. The boss walked in, carried the little kid out and said, "My son, you can play, but I won't refund the money." Li Xiqing ignored him and sat down. He opened the webpage and found Su Qianxi's Weibo. Seeing that sentence, Li Xiqing felt like crying. Her face in the photo was more mature than before, and she was much thinner than before. His Mrs. Li seemed to be different. Logging into a Weibo account, Li Xiqing left a message. He will see it, and he will come back. However, that message was quickly drowned out by a large number of replies. He logged into Elle's account on social media, and immediately saw a beauty's profile picture pop up. It was a selfie of Su Qianxi herself. She said, "Let's meet. I know you are in Kingstown, Mr. L. It was sent 10 minutes ago." Chapter 6:12. L. Li. In Li Xiqing, she had seen a lot of things that could not be explained by common sense. So over the years, was it possible that he had actually turned into L, silently watching her? She knew that her idea was a bit absurd. He had been in prison for so long. How could he get a communication device and contact her? But it was also such an absurd idea that was getting bigger and bigger in her heart. In the end, it was out of control. Who was L? Li Xiqing, Li Xiqing, Li Xiqing. A voice kept echoing in her mind. Her heart was pounding. After logging in the chat account, she sent a message. "Let's meet up. I know you are in Kingstown. Let's meet up. I know you are in Kingstown, Mr. Li." Li Xiqing looked at the line of words on the computer. For the second time in his life, he was caught in such a difficult struggle. The first time was 3 years ago, when Jing Sa invited him to help her deal with the drug trafficking gang. He could go home and reunite with his wife and children. In the future, he would always bear the fear that his family was likely to be retaliated against. Or he could help her collect evidence of their drug trafficking and dig out their boss, wiping them out in one fell swoop. At that time, he struggled for 3 days and 3 nights. At that time, He had not fully recovered from his serious injury. If he chose to go home, Jigsaw would also help him. However, Li Xiqing finally chose the second step. Now, he could tell her, let her rest assured, and continue to be a spy. However, one more person knew one more danger. Jigsaw had repeatedly warned him not to go home and not to see her. Or, he could not tell her. Let the outside world think that she was delusional. Let her continue to live with this attitude and face the world. In this way, Tang Minjing would let down her guard and focus on dealing with him instead of his family. The people above Tang Minjing would also let down their guard. In the near future, he would be able to uproot them all. What to do? Li Xiqing was caught in a dilemma, holding his head in distress and closing his eyes. After sending this message, Su Qianxi felt inexplicably nervous and throbbing. Was it him? It must be him. It must be him, right? It was impossible for there to be two people in the world who were so similar. And it was impossible for them to have such similar gazes, wasn't it? Therefore, L must be Li Xiqing, no doubt about it. Su Qianxi stared at the letter on the computer. As time passed, about 10 minutes later, the other side actually replied. His reply was within his expectations, but it was also unexpected. Surprised, she stared at the computer screen with her eyes wide open. L. Tomorrow night, Kingstown Shijiang Bridge. 8 o'clock. Seeing these words, Su Qianxi's heart beat faster. Staring at the screen for a long while, her fingers quickly typed. See you there. L. Be there or be square, writes him right. Has he finally decided to come clean with me? See you tomorrow. Staring at these words, Su Qianxi smiled, her eyes blurred with tears. Bad guy, I've been waiting for you for 4 years, you know? Mr. Li, do you know that I have waited for you for 4 years? She got off the bed, opened the closet, and started to pick out clothes for the first time. Chapter 613. On Sunday, Li Jingnan was still working overtime. After Su Qianxi arrived at the company, she worked with him for a while and told him about L and meeting Li Xiqing yesterday. She couldn't hide the joy in her eyes. Li Jingnan smiled and only said, Are you sure it was him? Feeling that it would not be so simple, Li Jingnan looked at the document in his hand, but his thoughts were far away. Su Qianxi was silent for a moment and nodded. I'm sure. Li Jingnan glanced at her and quickly returned to the contract signed by TL and LS in front of him. There was indeed a loophole in the breach of contract clause. This loophole was enough for TL to lose a lot of money, or even go bankrupt. This method was insidious and cruel. Li Jingnan would not believe anyone who told him that it was not Li Xiqing who did it. It was time to launch an attack on TL. Li Jingnan knew that that person was also waiting. Su Qianxi was not in the mood to work and quickly left the company. When she returned home, it was already restaurant time. After eating with the child, Su Qianxi went into the room. After trying on several sets of clothes, she finally chose a wide-sleeved floral dress. Li Xiqing liked to see her wearing floral dresses. This was the limited edition dress she bought from a brand a few days ago. Even Su Qianxi felt that she had become very beautiful in it. She put on water makeup and carefully painted her face to make herself look more beautiful. After everything was done, it was already 1913. Su Qianxi hurriedly put on her shoes and drove the modified supercar that Li Xiqing purchased. The closer she got to the destination, the more nervous she became. She was going to see him. She was going to see him. It must be him. Su Qianxi couldn't help smiling, feeling that she had finally become a Buddha after many years of cultivation. Kingstown Shijiang Bridge was located in the middle of the Kingstown River. Across the river, there was a high arch in the center, surrounded by bright colorful lights, changing into luxurious gold from time to time. The high bridge frame was known as the most beautiful landmark of Kingstown. The Bugatti stopped by the bridge. Su Qianxi looked up at the high bridge, her dark and bright eyes reflecting the beautiful scenery. So beautiful. Today, the bridge was beautiful, the river was beautiful, the wind was beautiful, and even the starless and moonless sky made her feel happy. He looked at his watch. It was only 7:38 p.m. She seemed to have come too early. A dark gray figure, wearing big sunglasses and a big hat, avoided all the surveillance cameras and sneaked out of TL Group. No one noticed what kind of damage he had caused to the company, and no one noticed this person coming in and out. Everything was so quiet and smooth that it made one's mood soar. Li Xiqing smiled slightly, pressed the brim of his hat, and quickly returned to the side of the white sports car. From near the TL Group in Kingstown, he sped through the crowd on the highway. Because it was Sunday, there was a lot of traffic. Li Xiqing's car was stuck in the traffic jam for a long time. When he came out, it had been more than 20 minutes. Looking at the time, it was already 7:49. Suddenly, a deafening clap of thunder came from the sky. At the same time, the sapphire earrings on his ears seemed to ring. Li Xiqing pressed the earring, and Jing Sao's voice immediately came over. Come back. She came back at the last minute. She will be here soon. Li Xiqing's heart skipped a beat, and his eyes suddenly became cold and sharp. Why? She seems to have recognized you from the photo at the amusement park yesterday. Everyone go to bed first. Kevin is dead. I will write in the morning and read it tomorrow. Chapter 6:14. Li Xiqing was shocked and his face changed slightly. How is it possible? With his disguise, even Su Qianxi did not recognize him. It was even more impossible for those people up there to recognize him. Jing Sao was not sure and said, most likely. Anyway, come back quickly. If she arrives and doesn't see you here, we will all be in trouble. Li Xiqing knew the seriousness of it. Looking at the time in the car, it was already 19:51 in the evening. There were only 9 minutes left before the agreed time with her. From here to Shijiang Bridge, it would take about 7 or 8 minutes. However, it would take about 20 minutes to get back from here. But it would take more than half an hour to get back from Shijiang Bridge. When will she arrive? Jing Sao called him at this time, so she should not arrive soon. Unless Tang Minjing came back without telling Jing Sao. 20 minutes at the latest. Jing Sao threw another bomb. Li Xiqing's face was more gloomy. For years of experience had sharpened his arrogance and sharpness into his bones. And he did not show any of it on his face. But even so, at this moment, Li Xiqing could not help but be slightly shocked. Had she already begun to suspect Jing Sao? She was fine before. Was Jing Sao exposed in just 2 days? A pair of phoenix eyes narrowed slightly, and he began to think secretly. Tang Minjing was a gun sent by the people above. This woman alone was nothing to be afraid of. What was terrible was that this gun was loyal to the people above. If this gun was disturbed, the people above would certainly not let them go. Above not only Bo Xiao, but also the entire Bo Group. The Bo Group, on the surface, was a business of musical instruments, and its family also had many people who learned musical instruments. But in fact, the Bo Group began to decline from Bo Xiao's father's generation. About 7 or 8 years ago, the current head of the Bo Group, that is Bo Xiao's father, had begun to get involved in this. TL was just a cover. The real money laundering was in the Bo Group. For so many years, Jing Sao had been lurking in the Tang family, because Tang Jinghao had a close relationship with the Bo Group. In recent years, there had finally been progress. After a while he could completely solve them. No matter what, it could not be destroyed by him at this time. However, she was still waiting for him. He had an appointment with her at 8 o'clock. Be there or be square. With that woman's temper, would she really wait for him? Hurry up. For the first time, Jing Sao roared at him in a panic. If we are discovered, what we have done over the past few years will not only be in vain, but we may also lose our lives. You might want to die, but I don't. Got it. I'll go back now. Li Xiqing's face was dark. Try to stall her. He had to be there in 20 minutes. Otherwise, not only the deployment of the past 4 years would be destroyed, but even Jing Sao would be implicated by him. In front of him, he seemed to see Su Qianxi's soft smiling face. Her cheeks were slightly red, and her eyes were like a naive deer. See, you don't leave. Li Xiqing's heart ached slightly, and he suddenly felt a sense of helplessness in his chest. He was afraid that he would have to miss his appointment again. I'm sorry. In the pitch-black sky, rolling dark clouds were dense. From time to time, electric snakes would scuttle across, thunder would suddenly appear, and lightning would strike. Chapter 6:15. Raising his head, He saw large drops of rain pattering down from the sky. A drop of water hit her eyelashes, and it quickly rolled down her eyes. It was raining. It was raining so hard. She looked at her watch under the light. It was 8:38 p.m. He was late, a full 38 minutes late. And she had waited for a whole hour. Why is he not here yet? Did he forget? Did he forget that there was another her waiting for him? She picked up her cell phone and wanted to make a call, but she could not make the call. The screen of the cell phone was hit by the raindrops and quickly covered with a layer of water. Su Qianxi's eyes flickered. In her dark and clear eyes, the original joy faded bit by bit. But soon, she curled her lips and gave a self-deprecating smile. This is the result of daydreaming. Except for an online name, she knew nothing about him. She even imagined that this person was very likely to be Li Xiqing, very likely to be him. But now, this possibility could be completely ruled out. If it was Li Xiqing, he would not let her wait for so long. Would he? If it was Li Xiqing, he would definitely come, right? The rain was getting heavier and heavier. Perhaps because the rain was too cold, Su Qianxi only felt that her eyes were burning. The warm liquid ran down her cheeks. She looked up at the luxurious Kingstown Bridge, curled her lips, and choked with sobs. You deserve it. It was not him. It must not be him. If it was him, he would definitely come. He loved her so much that he would not let her get wet in the rain, and he would not let her wait. If it was him, he would probably rush over and hug her, warning her sternly, "Don't come here again," or "Don't get wet in the rain again." Then he would carry her home, help her undress, and help her take a shower. That was Li Xiqing. Li Xiqing would not break his promise. He definitely would not. Leaning against the railing, Su Qianxi's hair was already wet. However, Su Qianxi did not feel cold. She felt like her heart was being torn apart. Under the heavy rain, Su Qianxi held her cell phone and burst into tears. However, she should not cry at this time, right? What a ridiculous scene. If someone saw it, they would definitely laugh at her. He laughed at her for overestimating herself, at her daydreaming, at her imagination, at her insanity. Su Qianxi also felt ridiculous. Forcing herself to laugh, she let out a laugh, but it was mixed with the sound of crying. Crying and laughing, she was like a psycho. That's right, isn't he a psychopath? She had long been a lunatic. Everyone said that she was delusional, and no one believed her. Everyone looked at her with sympathy. They sympathized with her stupidity and stupidity. Now, even she began to sympathize with herself. A gust of wind blew, and waves surged on the surface of the river. Su Qianxi looked at the boundless dark river, laughed and said loudly, "Su Qianxi, how can you be so cheap? What a cheap bastard. Too cheap, too cheap. What right do you have to be so cheap?" Now, she did not even have the right to be cheap. Do you think you are still the Su Qianxi from before? Su Qianxi turned and walked toward the Bugatti, muttering to herself. It seemed to be self-mockery, or maybe it was just a statement. Without Li Xiqing, you are nothing. Dash. Chapter 616. The air conditioner was on in the car, and Su Qianxi shivered. Reaching out to turn off the air conditioner, Su Qianxi slowly started the car and drove on the way home. Just behind Su Qianxi, a long black Bentley was quietly parked by the bridge. Li Jinnan watched the Bugatti leave, and there was anger in his eyes. But more than that, it was pity. However, it was precisely at a time like this that he couldn't go. Li Xiqing was still alive. He was still alive. He was his brother, the most respected and worshipped brother. He would come back sooner or later. Because he was Li Jinnan, so he could not. The Bugatti slowly went away, and the black Bentley slowly followed, just out of her sight, until he saw the car driving back to the old house and into the front yard. Li Jinnan's eyes slightly dimmed. Turn around and go home. Captain Li was sitting on the sofa telling stories to the children. Li Mosin and Li Jianyue were sitting on the sofa, and Li Jianxian was sitting on the ground holding a pillow, listening with relish. When he was fascinated, the sound of the door opening came from outside. Qin Shuhua and Li Xiao were watching TV. Sensing the door opening, they also looked over. Su Qianxi was soaked, and her eyes were a little red. She looked very embarrassed. Qin Shuhua was shocked and quickly greeted her. What happened, Su Qianxi? How did you get like this? Mom, Li Jianyue shouted, and Li Jianqian also looked over. Su Qianxi glanced at the children and shook her head at Qin Shuhua. She forced a smile and shook her head. It's okay. It's raining heavily outside. I couldn't avoid it and got wet. Then you, crying like this because of the rain? When Qin Shuhua was about to say it, Li Xiao pulled her hand. Su Qianxi saw it and smiled. Dad, Mom, I'm going to take a shower first. Captain Li saw something was wrong and urged. Hurry up and take a shower. Don't catch a cold. Okay. Su Qianxi quickly walked in and returned to the room. The old man sighed faintly. His cloudy old eyes were filled with deep sorrow. After driving the children to bed, Captain Li sat in front of Qin Shuhua and Li Xiao with his walking stick and said, Other than when Siqing was there, when have you ever seen Qianqian cry like this? Hearing Captain Li's words, Qin Shuhua's eyes became red. These days, she has been thinking that Siqing came to see her. When she went out, she was so beautiful. Could it be? Li Siqing had been dead for more than 4 years, and she still could not forget him. What should she do? How pitiful. Although Li Siqing was her son, Qin Shuhua did not want her to remarry. However, how could Su Qianxi bear it if it went on like this? The old man sighed faintly and shook his head. We can't let her go on like this. Let Yihan take her to the doctor tomorrow. Yihan is a very good child. Qin Shuhua and Li Xiao looked at each other without saying a word. Jing Sa was extremely scared. It had been 15 minutes since she called for Li Siqing. However, there was no sign that the boy had arrived yet. This made Jing Sa nervous. Her heart, which had been calm after being undercover for 7 or 8 years, suddenly became nervous. Chapter 617. Come back, come back, come back. If you don't come back, we will all die. Jing Sa's heart was pounding. Suddenly, there was a commotion outside, accompanied by the sound of high heels hitting the ground. God, so fast. Jing Sa subconsciously held her breath and pressed the transmission device hidden under her collar. Hurry up, she is coming. The voice was very low, and it seemed insignificant under the sharp sound of high heels and the noise. Jing Sa tried to calm herself down a little, took a deep breath, and immediately, the expression on her face returned to its previous state. No matter what, hold her back. Tang Minjing's tall figure walked in high heels, holding the phone and explaining something to the other side with a smile. Seeing Tang Minjing was so uneducated, Jing Sa already knew what was going on. The only people who could make Tang Minjing behave like this must be people from above. She bowed her head slightly, her body slightly bent. Jing Sa stood in front of the big iron gate and shouted, Hello, Mississippi. Tang Minjing nodded and said, Okay, I will confirm it and take a short video for you. But you have seen my defense here. How can he escape? And that guy's drug addiction is so strong. Even if he escapes, he will certainly not be able to resist. Jing Sa did not hear what was said on the other side. Tang Minjing sneered and said, You are just speculating. Look at that person. How is he like Li Siqing? Li Siqing does not have such a non-mainstream hobby, dyeing his hair and wearing earrings. And how can Li Siqing have such great strength? Don't you know how muscles are for drug addicts? If he had that strength, he would have run away long ago. Why is he still staying here to be ordered by us? And he escaped again and again, and was chased by us. There seemed to be some excitement on the other side, and a faint voice came. Anyway, quickly confirm if he is still here. No. Jing Sa even became short of breath. Li Siqing should not be back so soon. What to do? Tang Minjing quickly hung up the phone and looked at Jing Sa. Open the door. What are you waiting for? Jing Sa felt that her heart was about to jump out. She lowered her head slightly and said, That guy just took the medicine and should be asleep. He is inside and he can't run away. Hearing this, Tang Minjing raised her eyebrows and asked, What did you do to him? Don't dare to open the door, could it be? Jing Sa's heart skipped a beat. She quickly shook her head and said, No, it's just what? In Jing Sa's mind, countless thoughts came up. However, there was no one inside, no one. What should he do now? Was he going to let her in just like that? Jing Sa's heart was pounding. Even when she was undercover for the first time, she was not so nervous. Tang Minjing looked at Jing Sa and felt even more suspicious. She said, Jing Sa, I trust you very much. Open the door. Jing Sa lowered her head slightly, nodded, and took out a bunch of keys from her pocket. Usually, when Jing Sa opened the door, she was not fast, but in front of Tang Minjing, she never dared to delay. But today, Jing Sa's movements seemed to be deliberately slowed down, unspeakably slow. Something was wrong. Chapter 6:18. Jing Sa's heart was about to jump out of her throat, and she said loudly, No, no. God, did this bastard come back or not? Jing Sa felt like she was going crazy, holding Tang Minjing's hand tightly, with an unspeakable panic on her face. Tang Minjing felt even more suspicious, pushing Jing Sa away, and opening the doors one after another. A big iron door, a big wooden door, and then a big railing door. After several layers of defense, Tang Minjing opened the last barrier. As soon as she entered, she turned on the big fluorescent light. Jing Sa's face instantly became pale. Looking in, the first thing that entered his eyes was a huge solid iron gate with a huge lock. However, in the big room, there was no one. The quilt that should have been bulging was folded, and the pillow was placed on the quilt. Tang Minjing's face changed, walked in quickly and roared, Where is he? Did he run away? Jing Sa's body almost turned to jelly, but she quickly calmed herself down and called, Mr. Li? What? An impatient voice came from the toilet. This voice was full of impatience, but it was Li Xiqing's voice. Jing Sa almost knelt down, scared that her heart was about to fly out. She had already cursed in her heart, but at this time, Jing Sa needed to calm down. What are you doing? Tang Minjing breathed a sigh of relief, turned to look at Jing Sa, and said, Isn't he still here? Why are you so nervous? Jing Sa was speechless for a moment. Suddenly, she heard the sound of flushing in the toilet. A tall figure came out, his back slightly bent, and he did not look as domineering as he used to. His short black hair was a bit uneven, because he had been trimmed for a long time. Li Xiqing wore a wrinkled shirt, but in such an environment, his expression was still full of arrogance and laziness. Slowly putting down his sleeve, Li Xiqing returned to the bed and sat down. He glanced at Tang Minjing and sneered. What? You swallowed half of my medicine. What else do you want now? Tang Minjing finally understood why Jing Sa was so nervous. Turning around, Tang Minjing glared at Jing Sa and asked, You swallowed half of his medicine? Jing Sa looked more nervous, and took a step back. Seeing Jing Sa's expression, Tang Minjing's face softened. She turned to look at Li Xiqing and sneered. It seems that even without half of the medicine, you are still fine. You won't die so soon, right? Li Xiqing stared at her with a sullen face, and glanced at the blood stains on his white shirt sleeve. Ha ha ha. Tang Minjing was so happy that she turned around and glanced at Jing Sa. What are you afraid of? You are one of us. Just keep him alive, but you have to be careful. Jing Sa seemed to be relieved and overjoyed. She nodded and said, Yes, miss. Tang Minjing took out her cell phone and took a video of Li Xiqing. Then she sent it to the people on the phone and said, Look, I have him here. Don't worry. Twisting her waist and walking out, Jing Sa gave him a deep look before turning off the light and locking the door. Chapter 6:19. TL and LS had been cooperating for less than a month. Just at the last moment of the cooperation, LS broke out a major piece of news. There was a problem with the contract provided by TL. This was a trap within a trap. If LS fulfilled its contractual obligations according to the contract, then LS would lose more than 1 billion yuan. Fortunately, the vice president of LS, Li Jinnan, discovered it in time and used it as evidence to take TL to court. This matter suddenly caused a sensation in the entire business circle. For a time, the entire TL group was in chaos. However, at this juncture, several other partners of TL actually requested to terminate the contract at the same time, and were willing to pay a large amount of compensation to terminate the contract. In less than a month, TL Group, which was originally a well-known domestic company, suddenly carried a major debt, and the entire company was in a panic. TL's corporate image in China also plummeted. Within TL, the vice president, whose status was second only to Tang Qing, absconded with the money when TL's stock market plummeted. However, on the 28th day, the two sides suddenly negotiated privately. Ms. Tang Qing, the main person in charge, paid a very satisfactory compensation to LS Group on behalf of TL Group. After this matter, Tang Minjing's status in the eyes of the people above was not as good as before. Without a doubt, the benefits he received were also greatly reduced. Li Xiqing was lying in the small room, listening to Jing Sa talking to him about these things he had caused, and his lips curled. As expected, all of these things were within his calculations. TL had collapsed. In less than 2 days, Tang Minjing would definitely come to him with the people above. If he guessed correctly, at most 3 days, the Bo family would ask to transfer him. At that time, he could enter the Bo family in one fell swoop. The stock market of LS had been rising recently. In less than a month, the Li family had reached its peak in recent years, and it was still rising. The good result was all thanks to the cooperation between Elle and Li Jinnan. It had been 25 days since Elle stood her up. Su Qianxi sat in the office yawning. This matter was like a dandelion in her heart, blown away by the wind, but there were still umbrella-shaped flying catkins, appearing from time to disturb her thoughts. For example, today, in Su Qianxi's mind, she thought of the question again. Who is Elle? At the same time, a message appeared on the computer. Elle. Sorry, I had something very important to do that day. Su Qianxi looked at the line for a long while before reaching out her hand and typing on the keyboard. Whatever, Li Xiqing looked at her words and felt very uncomfortable. He couldn't imagine what it would be like when Su Qianxi said those words with such an expression and attitude. It must be very sad. Li Xiqing felt even more guilty, but he did not reply. The door was opened from the outside, and Jing Sa came in. She looked at him deeply and said, "The people from above are here to see you." Li Xiqing pretended to be surprised and panicked, but in his heart, he was very calm. It was finally here. Do you know that I've been waiting for you for a long time? Elle did not reply. Although it was expected, she still couldn't help feeling disappointed. Was this guy's apology serious? No sincerity at all. Lowering his eyes, the phone on the table vibrated. It was a WeChat message. Louis Han. Tonight, Kingstown Tower, top floor 730. I will wait for you. I recommend my friend Su Jishui's new book, Hidden Husband, Playing with Heartbeat. Hey, you don't move. Don't move your mouth. Chapter 620. Louis Han. Tonight, top floor 730. I will wait for you. She and Louis Han had not been in contact for a month. In the past month, Louis Han had not appeared in her sight. However, Grandpa mentioned Louis Han in front of her from time to time, praising him. Every time she heard it, she just smiled and did not speak. Seeing this message from Louis Han, she picked up her phone and replied, "What's wrong?" Louis Han. "Something urgent," crying. Su Qianxi. "Well, do you have dinner? If you do, I will skip dinner later." Louis Han. "Must have dinner." Su Qianxi. "Okay, then I will work overtime." Louis Han. "Okay." Su Qianxi called her family and told them that she was busy in the company until 7 o'clock. Then she went downstairs and drove to Kingstown Tower. The highest floor of Kingstown Tower was the 108th floor. The sightseeing elevator was transparent. Su Qianxi looked at the night view around her and felt unprecedentedly peaceful. The top floor of Kingstown Tower was a sky garden. To come here, it required expensive tickets, so there would not be many people coming up. However, it was the first time for Su Qianxi to see such a quiet place. It was dark around, and Su Qianxi was slightly night blind. Looking up, the moon was bright, and the stars were sparse. The wind was a bit strong, blowing the hair on Su Qianxi's forehead gently fluttering. Carefully sticking out her foot, she called, "Ihan?" There was no response. Suddenly, there were blazing lights around her. Su Qianxi's eyes were slightly hurt by the sudden light, and she subconsciously tilted her head and closed her eyes. Coming back to herself, she looked forward and saw that the lights in front of her were arranged neatly, forming a beautiful and wide path. On the path, there were beautiful colorful roses, and the faint fragrance of roses filled the air. Just on the left and right sides of the path, there were beautiful and luxurious lights. Colorful lights surrounded the clear photos. There were photos of Su Qianxi in high school. At that time, her long black hair was tied into 2 ponytails that hung over her shoulders. She was holding a lunchbox in her hands and looking ahead. The quality was not high taken by Lu Yihan. She stepped on the rose petals and walked along the path. Looking behind him, there were some who were smiling, some who were blaming him, some who were happy, some who were crying, and some who were scolding him with their hands on their hips. From a young and inexperienced girl, she slowly began to become a mature and gentle woman. She was gentle and playful. In the middle part, Su Qianxi began to hold the baby in her arms. Gradually, the baby became bigger and bigger, from 0 years old to more than 3 years old. The number of children had also increased from 2 to 3. After the photos arrived, it was a group photo of Su Qianxi and Lu Yihan. When they were in high school, the two of them had their arms around each other's shoulders, smiling at the camera and making peace signs. Su Qianxi looked over with a smile on her face. But when she saw the last one, memories flooded in. Her eyes softened, and her gaze fell on the figure gradually appearing at the end of the path. Lu Yihan was holding a large bouquet of red roses in his hands. It was rare for him to dress up today. She didn't wear glasses and even had her hair styled. Very handsome. However, Su Qianxi's smile suddenly faded. Looking at Lu Yihan, her expression was complicated. Chapter 621. Lu Yihan noticed the change in her expression and smiled. Holding a large bouquet of roses, he slowly walked up to her. Su Qianxi looked at him and felt scared for no reason. Subconsciously, she wanted to retreat and escape. However, when she saw his affectionate eyes, she suddenly lost the courage to escape. Lu Yihan approached step by step, with a sunny and handsome smile on his face. Looking at Su Qianxi, he said, "Qianqian, you are early." "Yes, I'm early." The big clock on the top floor showed that it was only 7:13. However, Lu Yihan knew her very well and had already expected that she would arrive early. Holding the flowers in his hand, Lu Yihan slightly moved forward and asked, "Let's eat first." Su Qianxi reached out but did not take it. Her hands paused in the air. In her mind, she suddenly thought of one thing. He seemed to have never given her flowers. They had been married for a year, and they had been together for a year. She had experienced all kinds of details, thoughtfulness and warmth, but he had never given her flowers. Su Qianxi was a bit dazed, staring at the brilliant 99 roses in front of her. But soon, she looked up and looked at Lu Yihan. Lu Yihan was looking at her, with a pair of peach blossom eyes with infinite tenderness. Putting the flowers in her hand, Lu Yihan walked directly behind her, gently pushed her, and said, "I made you your favorite steak and soup. Do you want to try my new dishes?" Su Qianxi was gently pushed by him, holding a large bouquet of roses, and soon saw a table. On the table, there were 2 covered plates, and in the center was a beautiful flower-shaped candle, side by side. The flame was covered by a white glass lamp. The wind was a bit strong, but the flame was still intact. Su Qianxi was pushed to the table, and Lu Yihan pulled out a chair for her. "Miss Su, please sit down." Su Qianxi looked at his expectant and handsome face, pursed her lips and said, "Yihan, should sit down first." Lu Yihan pulled out the chair, gently pushed her to sit down and said, "If you have anything to say it after dinner, okay?" Su Qianxi felt like there was something in her heart that could not be vented. Uncomfortable, indescribably uncomfortable. She and Lu Yihan should not be like this. Lu Yihan helped her open the lid. The steaming steak was still smoking, and it seemed to have been cooked not long ago. Exquisite soup, exquisite dishes, and exquisite desserts in front of him. They were all Su Qianxi's favorites, but they looked different from what she usually ate. Lu Yihan knew her. Even Li Xiqing did not know her as well as Lu Yihan did. She wiped her hands with a wet paper towel, picked up the spoon, and took a sip. Very fragrant, very strong. It could be seen that he had put a lot of effort into it. "But, Yihan." "Qianqian." Lu Yihan interrupted her and smiled. "Let's eat first, okay?" He was afraid that she wouldn't be able to eat anymore. He was afraid that she would never want to see him again. Today, he had decided to do this, and he had already mentally prepared himself. Or step into heaven, or he would be consigned to eternal damnation. Su Qianxi looked at him and said, I think of you as a good friend always. I know. Lu Yihan stood up and came to her side, looking down at her. But I don't want a friend. I want you. Dash. Chapter 622. Although she had expected it, hearing it for real, Su Qianxi still panicked and quickly stood up. However, Lu Yihan reached out and quickly pressed her down. Her pair of eyes, under the dazzling and resplendent lights around her, looked like a demon, gorgeous and beautiful to the extreme. He looked at her, his eyes full of anxiety. Lu Yihan slowly said, Why don't we make a bet? Su Qianxi was fascinated by his eyes and subconsciously asked, What? Didn't you insist that he is still alive? Yes, he is still alive. Su Qianxi blurted out without hesitation. Looking at him, she said firmly, Last time, my daughter and I were saved by him. If it were not for him, I'm afraid we would have fallen to our deaths. Hearing this, Lu Yihan felt a bit sad. He was dead. He was dead. Everyone knew he was dead. But why was she unwilling to accept it? Looking at her, his eyes filled with pity, Lu Yihan slowly said, Then let's make a bet. Su Qianxi pursed her lips and looked at him without speaking. If he is still alive, if the person last time is really him, then he will definitely come back. He hates me, you know. Lu Yihan smiled self-mockingly. He wants to beat me up every time he sees me. So he will never tolerate you marrying me, right? Yes, very right. In the past, she did not understand Lu Yihan's feelings for her. But he had seen it clearly. Therefore, he tried to keep Lu Yihan away from her. Every time he saw Lu Yihan, it was like seeing an enemy, and he quickly hid her behind him. Su Qianxi knew all this. Hearing Lu Yihan's words, she nodded. So, he will not tolerate you marrying me. If he is not dead and is still alive, he will definitely come back and make trouble. Lu Yihan looked at her with a bit of secret begging in his eyes. You know his methods and his character best, don't you? Yes, he will not accept it. Su Qianxi's eyes trembled, looked at him, and asked, You mean we can use this method to force him out? If Li Xiqing did not want to come out, she could not find him. Yes. Lu Yihan nodded against his will. Try it. Marry me. If he comes out, I will let go and never bother you again. But if he doesn't come out, can you give me a chance? Yihan. Children need a father. Lu Yihan looked at her. You are not alone. Qianqian, you have children. The 3 children have already accepted me. If you let me be their father, it would be the most suitable, wouldn't it? Do you want to raise 3 children by yourself and be a single parent for the rest of your life? This is not fair to the child Qianqian. However, if she accepted him, it would be the greatest injustice to him. Li Xiqing had lived in her heart for 2 lifetimes. Other than him, there was no room for another man. Su Qianxi looked at him, her eyes slightly wet, and her voice slightly choked. You know, I have been waiting for him. It is impossible for me to regard you as anything other than a friend. Yihan, try it. If he is still alive, he will definitely come back to stop you from marrying me. Qianqian, don't you want to see him? Chapter 623. How could she not want to? For the past 4 years, she had dreamed of seeing him. Every day when she woke up and could not see him, she felt empty. However, in this way, would he really appear? Would he? She did not know. Li Xiqing was more sophisticated than she had imagined. Why he hid, she did not know. Why he did not come back, she did not know. However, she wanted to see him very much. He was still alive, he must be alive. Last time at the amusement park, that person must be him. It must be. Lu Yihan saw that she was moved and said again, If he loves you, he will come back. If he was still alive. She finally couldn't hold it anymore and burst into tears. Lu Yihan took out a velvet box from his pocket, knelt on one knee, opened the box, looked at her, and said slowly, Marry me, will you? Su Qianxi's tears fell even more fiercely. Looking at him, she pushed the box and said, Yihan, I will not love you, you know that. These straightforward words were like a butcher's knife, ruthlessly chopping into his heart. In an instant blood splashed, and it was terrible. However, Louis Han still forced a smile and said, I know, I don't care. Their days were still long, very long. There was no reason that he couldn't be compared to a dead man, right? Li Xiqing was already dead. Sooner or later, she would forget him and accept him, Louis Han. She would accept him sooner or later, and he could afford to wait. Su Qianxi looked at him, put her hands behind her back, and said, I care. I want to wait for him to come back clean. She had guarded her heart. She also wanted to guard her body. Because of her insistence, Li Xiqing did not have a funeral from beginning to end. Although the public had magnified the news of his death to every corner of the country, she believed that he was not dead. She would not let him come back and see the word widowed written on the marriage column of his wife. She would not let him come back and see the name of another man written on her marriage column. This was her only purity for him. She loved him, and she wanted to keep all the best of her for him. Even if he didn't want to come back, she would stay for him. She wouldn't have any regrets when she grew old and died. Louis Han's eyelids drooped, and his hopeful eyes dimmed inch by inch. He pursed his lips and remained silent. Su Qianxi took a deep breath and choked. Han, thank you. Louis Han felt that his eyes were a little hot, and the sour feeling in his heart was so overwhelming that he almost couldn't breathe. He didn't want her to thank him. All he wanted was her. That was all. Why? When Li Xiqing was alive, Louis Han could not compete with him. Now Li Xiqing was dead, and he still couldn't beat him? It was as if a piece of his heart was missing. A single word of thanks was not enough to make up for it. Louis Han did not speak, still maintaining that posture in front of her. After a long while she whispered, I want to try. Just 4 words, but the fire in Louis Han's heart, which he thought had been extinguished without a trace, was ignited again. Looking up in surprise, Louis Han looked at her incredulously. You're right. If he still loves me, he will come back. This is his home, his children, his parents, and his grandfather. If he is still alive, there is no reason for him not to come back. Just once let her try. Chapter 624. This Weibo post shocked a lot of netizens and people in the business circle. In less than an hour, this Weibo post had become a trending topic. Curses, blessings, sighs, mockery, doubts, and all kinds of comments had reached more than 80,000. This Weibo post was very simple, with only 4 words, an emoji, and an attached picture. The attached picture was a long light path, with 2 rows of photos on the left and right. The path was covered with rose petals, a bunch of big roses, and a ring. Along with it, there was Su Qianxi's delicate and gentle face, with a light smile. Next to her there was a man. Only half of the man's face was taken, but this half was enough to attract many girls. There were also people who were familiar enough to recognize who this deity was. Su Qianxi. Bless me, smile. There was an uproar below, private messages and all sorts of messages popping up endlessly. Your mom blew up Bibi. No way? She was at the amusement park not long ago. And now she has a new lover? Su Qianxi, handsome scheming bitch, bless my goddess. It's been 4 years. The child needs his father, love. Love. Meng 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 yao. You should have done this earlier. It's good that you got over it. Mr. Li will bless you in heaven, candle. Happy 888888. My goddess is so beautiful. Who is that man? I can look at his profile for a year. Color. A charming and sexy woman. You can't pretend anymore, right? It must be very fun to have such a big company all by yourself. You even have a boy toy. I admire you. Like, there were all kinds of comments. Su Qianxi glanced at them and collapsed on the bed, looking up at the ceiling. Suddenly her phone rang. It was Li Jinnan. Is it Louis Han? Yes. Li Jinnan was silent for a moment and asked, do you like him? Su Qianxi held the phone and did not answer. Sister-in-law, you can't marry him. Li Jinnan's voice was firm. Why? Because my second brother is still fine. He is not dead. Su Qianxi's heart skipped a beat, feeling sad for no reason. I know. Then why did you promise him? I want to try. She lay on her back. If he knows the news, will he come back to stop me? If he cares, he will come back, right? Li Jinnan was quiet for a moment and asked, did you see the WeChat message I sent you? No. Let me see. Su Qianxi put the phone on speaker and clicked into WeChat. She found that Li Jinnan had sent her several messages, and there were many unread messages from various acquaintances. She clicked on Li Jinnan's chat window and saw a few pictures. The first one was a screenshot of the chat history. Li 3. Since you can send messages, why don't you come back? I'm fine, don't worry about me. Su Qianxi's pupils shrank, unable to believe it. What did that mean? L admitted it. Was he really Li Xiqing? Su Qianxi's heart raced. Glancing at the time, it was more than a month ago. The second picture was a photograph. This was the gate of a villa. A beautiful red BMW was parked at the door. Tang Qing was smiling and opening the door, holding a mobile phone in her hand. Undoubtedly, this villa belonged to Tang Minjing. Chapter 625. Su Qianxi's heart was pounding. Vaguely, it seemed that she had discovered a big secret. However, that feeling instantly disappeared without a trace. Finished. Li Jinnan's voice came over, and his voice rose slightly. Come out to the living room. Su Qianxi immediately turned over and ran out barefoot. Li Jinnan was wearing a tight-fitting t-shirt, which accentuated the contours of his muscles. He was sitting on the sofa, half bent over the coffee table, fiddling with a laptop. Holding the phone in his hand, he looked up and saw her. He hung up the phone and waved at her. Su Qianxi sat down, and her eyes fell on his laptop. There was a small video playing on it. Looking at the angle and the light, it should have been taken with a hidden small camera. Probably something like a brooch or a tie. Jing Sa, I'm here to deliver the medicine. The woman called Jing Sa stood up, picked up the so-called medicine, dipped it in some, smelled it and nodded. Okay, go out. There's food. The people inside haven't eaten yet, right? Oh. Jing Sa took it. Leave it. It's better to eat it while it's hot. Miss Tang just said to let him finish eating early and start working early. There are still very important things to do. Jing Sa heard this and was very impatient. She waved her hand. Why is the person who delivered things so annoying today? What is he talking about? He won't die. Don't worry. Well, then I'm going. Go away. Jing Sa's temper was really bad. She threw the food prepared for the people inside on the table next to her and continued to play games. The person could not get close, and the direction of the camera quickly changed. Li Jinnan turned off the video, looked at Su Qianxi and said, My brother is locked inside. Su Qianxi stared at the darkness on the screen, and an uncontrollable anger rushed up, making her even a little short of breath. The last time you saw it, the one who saved you and Ursu in the amusement park, should also be my brother. Li Jinnan said lightly, using the mouse to click on his chat account and the chat window with L. The two sentences that Su Qianxi just saw suddenly appeared on the screen. This L is also my brother. He takes drugs. Su Qianxi turned to look at Li Jinnan. Tang Minjing gave him drugs. You heard the recording. You fought with him before. You should know that he's skilled and strong. Does he look like a drug addict? Just by looking at the short blurry video in the amusement park, Li Jinnan knew that the man couldn't have taken drugs. He was able to hold Su Qianxi firmly with one hand. Even for people who did not take drugs, few could achieve such arm strength. No, she blurted out without hesitation. That's right. He must have his reasons for not coming back. Second sister-in-law, don't you know how he treats you? The three of us may have some differences in our personalities, but our tempers are the same. We are all from the same family. Li Jinnan looked at Su Qianxi with his deep and dark eyes, hiding a trace of emotion that Su Qianxi could not understand. His voice was calm as he said, What he has decided will not change. He has decided on you, and only you. He only has one home. As long as he is still alive, he will definitely come back. Therefore, she could not marry Louis Han. That kind of guy did not deserve her. Chapter 626. Su Qianxi was destined to be with only Li Xiqing. Li Jinnan looked at her, and clearly saw the change in her eyes. He said in a low voice, When it comes to him, you can't calm down. Fortunately, with her cleverness, she understood immediately. She was a little confused and looked up at Li Jinnan. Li Jinnan actually looked very similar to Li Xiqing, especially that pair of eyes, the same beautiful eye shape and the same pitch-black pupils. However, compared to Li Xiqing, Li Jinnan was less indifferent and arrogant. In the past 4 years, the arrogance he had when he just came out of the army had been polished. At 29 years old, Li Jinnan had a unique charm of a mature man. Unlike Li Xiqing's indifference and arrogance, Li Jinnan was always indifferent, like the stars and the moon. He was clearly in front of her, but she could not see through him. Many times, he just looked at her lightly, but there was always a kind of depth that Su Qianxi could not understand. Su Qianxi's heart was in a mess. When she met his eyes, she was even more upset. "Uncle, what should I do now?" Panic, she couldn't stop panicking. Su Qianxi had completely lost her composure at this moment. She had lost her mind, and could only look at Li Jinnan for help. "I don't know what his plan is, but I don't think it will be a small matter." Li Jinnan looked at his computer, and quickly pulled up the contract with TL. "This contract was made by my brother. This trap was used by him when he framed Tang Jinghao. The technique is exactly the same. It is certain that he is now TL, and TL has declared bankruptcy. I think my brother's purpose has been at least half achieved." His fingers jumped on the keyboard, and Li Jinnan quickly pulled up another page. Bo's musical instruments. Bo's group music Bo Xiao. Su Qianxi's eyes widened. There were 2 strings in her mind that quickly collided. Li Jinnan looked at her expression, and knew that she had figured it out. He said, "The company behind TL is the Bo Group. TL's rapid development over the years has an inseparable relationship with the Bo Group. It's worth mentioning that although TL has been developing rapidly over the years, there are only a few big deals. Many of them are collaborations with small companies, but the deals have reached tens of millions, some even hundreds of millions." Money laundering. Su Qianxi had fully understood. She looked at Li Jinnan and asked, "You mean, he is probably dormant now? He wants to?" "Yes. How do you know?" Su Qianxi could not believe it. "This is too incredible. Did he tell you?" "I'm just guessing, but I'm pretty close to the mark. Years ago, when Li Xiqing failed to arrest Tang Jinghao at the airport and returned home with injuries, he had already told Li Xiqing, 'Nothing ventured, nothing gained.'" Li Jinnan saw all of Li Xiqing's troubles when his family was in trouble again and again. Therefore this was very likely the reason. Otherwise, why didn't he come back? In addition to this, Li Jinnan really could not think of any other reason. However, Su Qianxi's heartbeat suddenly accelerated a lot. Subconsciously, she thought of her previous life. Chapter 627. Su Qianxi looked at Li Jinnan, her heart beating faster and faster. The guess in her heart seemed to have been verified. The more she thought about it, the more likely she felt it was. At this time in his previous life, Li Jinnan was doing something that made Grandpa and his parents angry. Now Li Xiqing was missing. He was still alive, but he did not want to go home. Now thinking about it, it was very likely that he did not want to go home. What Li Jinnan did in his previous life was just to deal with the drug dealer. Yes, it must be so. In this way, everything could be understood. The truth of the matter had gradually become clear. Su Qianxi's heart seemed to be equipped with a mirror at this moment. "Is that so, Mr. Li?" Su Qianxi had lived 2 lives, and it was the first time she had made such a bold guess. If it was really so, then she would wait. She had waited for 4 years. She would wait for him to come back, even if it was another 4 years. But what about Luohan? 4 years was an extremely long period of time for anyone. For Luohan, it was more like 4 centuries. In the past 4 years, he shared a room with Luohan. Every day he ate, drank, and slept. Occasionally, he helped clean up, watched porn, and played video games. However, inexplicably, after living with Luohan, the number of times he dreamed of women gradually decreased. On this day, Luohan took a shower as usual and lay in bed. However, Luohan had always been a light sleeper, and it was difficult for him to fall asleep. It took him a long time to fall asleep. Gradually, he began to fall asleep. He dreamt that he was lying on the bed with his naked body sprawled out on the ground. He was secretly happy. Finally, he was going to dream of doing something embarrassing with a girl. After a long time, Luo Zhan was looking forward to it. Finally, after a long time, Luo Zhan was about to smoke a cigarette with the person in his arms. But when he turned his head, he suddenly saw a tough man's face. Luo Zhan suddenly woke up with a cold sweat. Lifting the quilt, he found that his crotch was wet. However, why was the other party? That person. Damn it. What the hell? Luo Zhan lifted the quilt, jumped out of bed, and went to the bathroom to take a shower. When he came out, Louis Han had already come back. Louis Han was particularly handsome today. He sat on the sofa with the computer on his knees, and a smile on his lips. He seemed to be in a good mood. Luo Zhan rubbed his hair with a towel, leaned over and sniffed him. There was a faint fragrance like the smell of flowers. Hey, what's wrong with you today? Luo Zhan threw the towel on him and said, Are you in heat? Louis Han crumpled the towel and threw it back, laughing. F***ck off. Luo Zhan, on the other hand, had goosebumps all over his body because of his laughter. His mind suddenly remembered the subtle feeling in the dream just now. His body tightened, his legs clamped, and his eyes fell on him again. He actually felt a little thirsty. Damn it. Luo Zhan coughed and walked around the sofa to look at his computer screen. It was actually a Weibo post, and the blogger was Su Qianxi. After seeing the pictures and words on Weibo, Luo Zhan's eyes widened, and his first reaction was to blurt out, "No." Chapter 628. Louis Han turned his head to look at him, his handsome eyebrows knitted, and asked, Why? Luo Zhan's voice paused, and soon he looked at him with indignation and said loudly, You are poaching her, do you know that? She is my brother's wife. That guy has been dead for so long. Do you want Qianqian to be a widow all the time? Louis Han was upset, glared at him, and quickly turned back to look at the computer screen, which was one of the few photos they had taken together in the past few years. Luo Zhan was not very comfortable and angry. He reached out and pushed the back of Louis Han's head and said, If she likes you, she would have accepted you long ago. She has a special liking for our second brother, and is loyal to him. Why are you still sticking to her? Aren't you a bitch? Get out. Louis Han slapped his hand away. So what? I like it. Luo Zhan looked at his happy look and was annoyed. He said sarcastically, You are in the right to be a mistress? What mistress? Li Xiqing died a long time ago, didn't he? Louis Han turned off the computer and put it away. He looked back at Luo Zhan with displeasure and anger in his eyes. If he was still alive, I would never have such thoughts. When he was still alive, did you see me approach her? Luo Zhan was speechless and felt suffocated. Louis Han stood up and loosened the button of his suit. His voice was distant and meaningful. Everyone has the right to pursue happiness. Qianqian is a good girl. Luo Zhan, you can't let her continue to stay with a dead man. It's not fair. It was not fair to her or to him. Luo Zhan felt even more suffocated. His eyes fell on the computer screen and he said, She accepted you? Sooner or later. Louis Han took off his suit, revealing a thin light blue shirt inside. Louis Han's figure was very good. At the moment, the thin shirt was sticking to his body, outlining all the lines below. Luo Zhan glanced at it and could not look away. Seeing Louis Han's puzzled eyes, Luo Zhan rolled his eyes and turned back to his room. Closing the door, Luo Zhan found that his heart was beating surprisingly fast, and his cheeks were slightly hot. My God! Luo Zhan was going crazy. Is this a ghost? F***ck. No, I have to go to the gathering in a few days. I was scared to death. However, he could not let Su Qianxi marry this guy. How could second brother close his eyes in the netherworld? Why did she have to marry Louis Han? Luo Zhan was disappointed. He picked up his phone and sent a WeChat message to Su Qianxi. Sister-in-law, have you really made up your mind? Z. No, why does it have to be him? Lao Er will crawl out and beat him up. Z. You know how much second brother hates him. Z. Sigh. Louis Han watched him return to the room weirdly, laughed, unbuttoned his shirt, and quickly entered the bathroom. When he came out, there were a few new messages on his phone. Qianqian. Ihan, shall we have lunch together tomorrow? Louis Han smiled and replied, Okay. He clicked on another message. It was from someone he hadn't seen for a long time. "You Lily. Congratulations. You're finally going to succeed. Louis Han." "Thank you." When Yu Lily saw the news, she thought that she would be heartbroken and cry. But unexpectedly, her heart was very calm. There were no waves, no ups and downs. Chapter 629. 12 years. Louis Han had been with Su Qianxi for 12 years. How many 12 years could there be in one's life? Yu Lily was lying on the bed, holding the phone and opening the desktop. This was a group photo. The girl in the photo looked domineering, holding the phone in both hands to take a selfie. Just behind the girl, a man in a burgundy suit, with a slightly evil smile, crossed his arms, and a pair of blurred and beautiful eyes, looking down at the girl's face. "Long time no see, oh." Li Xiqing was blindfolded and thrown in the back seat of the car. There was a pungent perfume next to him. It was Tang Minjing. His hands were tied behind him, and his eyes were blindfolded. Li Xiqing's hearing was particularly sharp. In addition to the sound of people in this area, there was the sound of insects squeaking at night. The car drove for a long time. Li Xiqing calculated in his heart. After about 70 or 80 minutes, the car stopped. The speed was very steady, about 40 to 50 kilometers per hour, which meant that it was not far from the villa he had just come out of. From the last investigation, he had already found that TL was just a camouflage, and the real nest hiding in Kingstown was actually somewhere else. The car stopped at about 5 traffic lights on the way, went up 2 slopes, and once on the highway. Most of the time, there was noise around. That was to say, this place was in a relatively prosperous place, but now it was very quiet around here. Most likely, it was downtown or a relatively high-end community or office building. Li Xiqing estimated in his heart, and was soon taken out of the car by 2 bodyguards. After entering, Li Xiqing heard the sound of a card being swiped, but the surroundings were still very quiet until they got on the elevator. The elevator quickly rose. 2 bodyguards took a blindfolded man with his hands tied. There was no sound of doubt. People here must have been used to this kind of situation. This building was probably owned by the Bo family, but it was impossible to use the name of the Bo family. And there would be another name that was loud and would not be suspicious. However, where would this place be? Ding! About a minute later, the elevator arrived. Li Xiqing's heart slightly moved. According to the frequency and time of the elevator's rise, it should be 48 to 50 floors. There were not many high-rise buildings in the center of Kingstown. Tang Minjing did not speak from beginning to end. When they got up, she picked up the phone and said, "Hello, we are on the top floor. Should we go straight to the VIP room?" Top floor? Li Xiqing searched for similar buildings in his mind, but before he could figure out where it was, he was pulled into a room and pushed hard. Li Xiqing felt the surroundings became dark and silent. They've locked him up again. About 10 minutes later, the door was opened. The sound of high-heeled shoes stepping on the ground could be heard. At the same time, there were sounds of people scrolling through Weibo. "Hey, Li Xiqing, I have great news for you." Tang Minjing's voice was sharp and deliberate, and her laughter was full of sarcasm. "It's about your wife. Do you want to hear it?" Li Xiqing listened and felt something was wrong. Pursing his red lips, he did not say anything. Tang Minjing sneered, "Boring. Stop pretending. Let me tell you, your wife is getting married." Dash. Chapter 630. His wife was getting married. What did that mean? Li Xiqing looked in Tang Minjing's direction, but his eyes were blindfolded, and he could not see anything. Tang Minjing clearly noticed that his indifferent expression suddenly became cold. His jaw tightened, exuding an indescribable charm. Seeing this, Tang Minjing slightly lowered her eyes and laughed even more sharply. She said, "Ah, what a perfect match. This Lu guy is quite handsome." Looking at the phone, she went behind Li Xiqing and took off his blindfold. "Do you want to have a look? This man is as good as you, right?" She handed the phone to Li Xiqing. In that photo, she was smiling, and beside her, half of Louis Han's face was in the mirror. The scene was really romantic. Li Xiqing's hands, which were tied behind him, unconsciously clenched. Looking at the photo, His calm breath also sped up a bit. Tang Minjing saw his reaction. Although it was extremely small, she knew him very well. His reaction was enough to show that he cared about this matter. So heartless. You have only been dead for 4 years. And your body is not even cold yet. And this woman is already thinking about remarrying. I thought she loved you a lot. Tang Minjing took off her shoes and sat on the bed with his back facing her. Reaching out, she slowly unzipped her dress. She used to be so good at pretending. When you were beaten half to death by my men, she cried so hard. Tang Minjing looked sympathetic. As she spoke, her upper body was already naked. Li Xiqing subconsciously looked at the mirror not far away, which reflected Tang Minjing's appearance. However, it was only a glance before he immediately looked away. Tang Minjing sneered. With such acting skills, it is a pity that she is not in the entertainment circle. Don't you think so? Taking off the last piece of clothing, Tang Minjing slowly leaned over and gently rubbed his back. Li Xiqing looked even colder. With a straight face, he closed his eyes and growled, "Get out!" Tang Minjing had expected this reaction, so she did not mind it at all. She straightened up, walked back to the wardrobe beside the bed, opened it and chuckled. She doesn't want you anymore, and you're still staying chase for her? Is it worth it? Li Xiqing pursed his lips and did not say anything. Tang Minjing put on a robe, opened a bottle of red wine, and slowly poured it into the decanter on the dining car. Taking out 2 crystal glasses, she poured the crimson liquid into them and walked to Li Xiqing, gently shaking the glasses. Barefoot, every step was slow and graceful. Her sexy wavy hair was casually tied up, with some loose strands hanging down from her forehead. It was a little messy, but it was enchanting. Naturally, he had to first ignore her stiff and pale face. With his eyes closed, Li Xiqing clearly sensed that she had walked up to him. Tang Minjing slowly sat down in front of him, handed him one of the cups and chuckled. "Have a drink." Li Xiqing did not open his eyes and ignored her. In Tang Minjing's beautiful big eyes, there was a trace of loneliness. She put down the 2 cups and leaned forward on her knees. Li Xiqing clearly sensed her approaching, slightly turned his head and stepped back. Chapter 631. Li Xiqing was shocked. Tang Minjing's movement caught him off guard. Caught off guard, he had already fallen on the carpet. His hands were pressed and it hurt a little. But what made Li Xiqing even more surprised was that Tang Minjing, wearing only a thin nightgown, clung to him, then held his face with both hands and approached his lips. Li Xiqing felt nauseous and struggled to get up. At the same time, he twisted his body and kicked her away. Li Xiqing's body quickly turned to the side. Tang Minjing fell to the ground and smiled coquettishly, letting the nightgown open. 2 plump white legs crossed each other, charming and seductive. "What? Don't pretend. After so many years without a woman, don't you want one?" If it was Su Qianxi, of course he wanted one. But for Tang Minjing, Li Xiqing got up from the carpet, leaned on the edge of the sofa, and ignored her. This was a suite. The living room and bedroom were independent, completely transparent, luxurious and beautiful, showing the unique style of the owner. Tang Minjing took 2 wine glasses and walked toward Li Xiqing. Gently blowing on his face, she said, "Drink this glass of wine, and I will take you to see her. How about it?" Li Xiqing fixed his eyes on her, with suspicion in his eyes. "You don't believe me?" Tang Minjing reached out and reached behind him. Li Xiqing's face suddenly became darker, and his gloomy face was full of warning. "Get out." Tang Minjing did not listen to him and said carelessly, "I'm helping you untie. What are you going to do?" "I'll do it with you if we're in bed. Do you want to try?" She reached behind him and pulled hard. The rope immediately loosened a little. Li Xiqing felt a little strange. What did this Tang Minjing want to do today? Tang Minjing leaned over and whispered, "In the past few years, you should have a lot of evidence of the Bo family's crimes, right?" Li Xiqing was caught off guard by her sudden words, and his heart skipped a beat. His dark and deep pupils suddenly shrank. Li Xiqing looked at her, pretending to be calm, narrowed his eyes and said slowly, "What? In the past few years, do you think I don't know?" Tang Minjing held her glass and chuckled. She sat in front of him and looked at him. "You are undercover, right?" In the past few years, the financial information of the Bo Group has been leaked. The police have got a lot of evidence. You really hid it from me. What do you mean? You invaded the Bo Group through TL, collected the transaction records and bills of the Bo Group, and then secretly transmitted them to the police. But I can't figure out how you did it. You were locked up for so long, disabled for more than a year, and started taking drugs 2 years ago. How did you do this? Tang Minjing put the glass in front of him and chuckled. I didn't understand it before, but now I do. You have an accomplice, right? He looked at her coldly, expressionless. Who is his partner? Tang Minjing asked softly. There was a hint of sarcasm in his eyes. Why must it be me? Chapter 632. Li Xiqing finally untied the rest of the rope. Looking at his red hands, he loosened his muscles. Tang Minjing looked at his comfortable look, took a sip of red wine and smiled. Li Xiqing saw a red lipstick mark on the wine glass. Tang Minjing's reaction was much calmer than he had imagined. Are you not afraid that I will run now? You can't run. Tang Minjing was sure. There are so many people outside. Unless you have the ability to jump down from here, there is no way you can escape. Tang Minjing glanced at him and chuckled. However, if you want to go down, I can take you down. It is just a matter of a word. As long as you tell me who your accomplice is, or sleep with me once, I will let you go. It has been 4 years. Li Xiqing, it is not easy to go back. Don't you want to? You want to sleep with me that much? Li Xiqing looked at her with a faint smile, looking down at her with disdain. Of course. Tang Minjing chuckled. Even in my dreams. Unfortunately, I don't have feelings for you. Being straightforward, this sentence was a great insult to any woman. Especially for Tang Minjing, who everyone wanted to have sex with. Tang Minjing's smile was also cold. If you can't, then you can't. Did the beating 4 years ago hurt you down there too? Li Xiqing ignored her and looked around the room. The decoration was beautiful, and it looked like a hotel. However, Tang Minjing had lived here for a while, so it looked like a home. Seeing that he did not speak, Tang Minjing gritted her teeth and said, There is another way. Have you forgotten? You want me to tell you who my accomplice is? So, you admit that you have an accomplice? Li Xiqing asked. Did I deny it? Tang Minjing smiled, stood up, and handed the wine glass to him. Want one? Li Xiqing took it and shook it gently in his hand. I advise you to be sensible. The Bo family is already angry. They wanted to kill you directly, but I pleaded for you. If it weren't for me, you would have been killed on the road today. Tang Minjing looked at him with a pair of big eyes. Her stiff face twisted into a smile, which looked extremely ugly. Li Xiqing did not speak. Looking at the big vent in front of him, his eyes were unspeakably deep. You don't believe me? Tang Minjing raised her eyebrows. Do you really want to try being killed? Yes. Li Xiqing's gaze fell on her. But you don't want me to die. Do you still like me? Haha. Why didn't I find you so humorous before? Tang Minjing said, leaning toward him tentatively. Li Xiqing did not refuse and let her approach. Tang Minjing was surprised, but she quickly leaned over and put a hand on his shoulder. Li Xiqing looked down at her and smiled. Tang Minjing felt her heart flutter and her heart beat faster. He actually smiled at her? Tang Minjing was slightly absent-minded, but she soon came back to herself. No. Tang Minjing subconsciously wanted to step back, but it was too late. Li Xiqing quickly chopped at the back of her neck. Chapter 633. Tang Minjing's body fell straight back, and the cup in her hand fell on the carpet. The red liquid quickly fainted on the carpet and seeped down. Li Xiqing looked around coldly and opened the window. It's very windy tonight. Very windy. As soon as the window was opened, the wind poured in and blew the curtains high. Li Xiqing looked down. It was very high. This was the top floor, and it was estimated that there were at least 40 floors. It was too unrealistic to jump down from here. Li Xiqing pondered for a moment, looked around, and finally hid in the bathroom. He unbuttoned his pants and turned the button out. There was a small secret compartment inside. Inside the secret compartment, there was a small sealed pocket. Inside the pocket, there was a sapphire cross stud earring. and it was astonishingly placed inside. Jing saw, there is a change of plan. Please support. Half an hour later, Jing Saw went to the Dongfang International Building with a tall bodyguard in black. The bodyguard in black was wearing a black leather suit. He was tall and thin, wearing a pair of sunglasses, looking powerful and domineering. The bodyguards at the door all knew Jing Saw. After greeting them one by one, Jing Saw walked to the suite where Tang Minjing was. She reached out and knocked on the door saying, "Miss, it's me." After a long while the door was opened. Jing Saw went in with the tall bodyguard. After about 10 minutes, Jing Saw came out with a smile. The bodyguard outside saw Jing Saw's expression and came over curiously. All of a sudden, he heard a clanking sound coming from inside. The sound came from the bathroom. Coupled with Jing Saw's expression, the bodyguards were even more curious and asked, "What's wrong? A man and a woman making this kind of sound in the bathroom. What can they do?" Jing Saw glanced at the bodyguard with an expression of, "You are so ignorant. Guard well. If you need anything, go in. Don't go in and disturb them." The bodyguards also had the expression of an experienced driver, and they laughed at the same time. Jing Saw led the bodyguard she brought into the elevator again, and went down soon. The soundproofing effect here was very good. They waited until dawn the next day. The captain of the bodyguard team received a call from above. After connecting, he heard a scolding from the other side. "Where is Tang Qing? Where the hell did that woman go? He's been in the room with Mr. Li. Put her on the phone. Whatever she's doing, give me an explanation right now." In one night, the 5 or 6 ports that she was in charge of were all seized by the police. Do you know how much she lost? It doesn't matter if we lose money or not. Those bastard cops even followed the clues to the headquarters. Let's see how she's going to solve this problem for me. The bodyguard's heart skipped a beat. He knew how serious this was. He did not care about his privacy, and opened the door with the spare key card. After entering, he found that Tang Minjing was not in the room at all. How could that be? Could it be that he didn't come back to sleep for the entire night? The bodyguard was shocked, and quickly went to check the bathroom door. With a twist, the door opened. Inside, Tang Minjing was tied up with a man wearing only a pair of underwear. Their mouths were covered with several layers of tape. Seeing him come in, they all struggled for help. Chapter 634. Jing Saw led the bodyguards down the elevator and walked out of the building calmly under the gaze of the lobby. When she got back to the car, she breathed a sigh of relief. There was a driver in the car, who was Jing Saw's colleague. Li Xiqing's expression did not change much. After getting in the car, he took off his sunglasses indifferently. His voice was cold and slow, powerful and dignified. "Drive." The man did not have much feelings for Li Xiqing. At this moment, he was very upset to hear such an order. However, seeing that his boss Liang Jing did not have any objection, he quickly started the car and slowly drove away from the Dongfang International Building. It was now 23:05 in the evening Beijing time. "Jing Saw, we have been exposed. They think I am the leader, but you have been exposed tonight. Tang Minjing can't go back. Now let's split up. You go back immediately to arrange the deployment to catch them." Jing Saw heard the words and said with a dignified expression, "Now? Have you finished the thing you said you would do before?" "Not yet, just a little bit more. It will take about 2 days. 2 days. As long as he was given 2 more days, he could get the evidence of the Bo family's crime. He had been preparing for 3 years, calculating for 3 years, and enduring humiliation for 3 years, just for the scene 2 days later. However, at this critical moment he was exposed. Li Xiqing had long thought that he would be exposed. TL's movement was too big. According to his calculation, he thought that they would be out of breath for at least 40 days. Too fast, too fast. The Bo family was more difficult to deal with than he thought. What should we do? We have prepared for so long and lurked for so long. Li Xiqing's face was also very ugly. We can't wait. We have already alerted the enemy. If we wait, all the deployments over the years will be in vain. Now that they have just begun to doubt, we will take them down in one fell swoop. Go and contact your colleagues, and let them search the warehouse of the Bo family. There will be a batch of violins or guitars hidden in them. What about you? Li Xiqing heard Jingsao's question, and his deep and restrained eyes flashed coldness. He said slowly, I will go and meet them. Chengyu was feeding the baby milk. The baby was only more than a month old. When she was born, her wrinkled skin had grown round. Her skin was white and tender, and her facial features were very beautiful, especially her eyes, which were almost identical to Chengyu's. Little Pampan. She fed and played with the baby, unable to hide the smile on her face. Suddenly, the door to the room opened. It was rare that Rong Rui didn't wear his home clothes. He walked out of the room with a cigarette in his mouth. He didn't light it. He frowned slightly and looked a little upset, holding the car key in his hand. She took a look and asked, Are you going out? Okay. Rong Rui came over and touched his daughter's little face. His irritated face softened. When little Rong Pampan was full, she spat out the food in her mouth and turned her head away. Her tongue stuck out from the side of her mouth, and she curled up her little fists and waved them around. Seeing his daughter like this, Rong Rui smiled happily. He hugged his daughter and kissed her on the cheek. She looks so much like you. She put down the clothes and glanced at him disdainfully. Fortunately, I look like you. If I look like you, I won't look good. Chapter 635. Not pretty. Hearing this, Rong Rui held the child in one hand and pressed her head with the other. He opened his mouth and took a bite of her mouth, asking fiercely, Is it pretty? Not pretty. Rong Rui took another bite. Is it pretty? Not pretty. Rong Rui pressed her down and kissed her fiercely, like a wolf biting. But he was reluctant to be too aggressive, kissing her gently, from shallow to deep. Being entangled, Chengyu soon became aroused and slowly responded. Boo-hoo! The little guy was left out and started crying, not to be outdone. He waved his little fists and stomped his feet. She pushed Rong Rui away and picked up the little girl. Pampan, don't cry. Rong Rui laughed, touched the little girl's little face, and said, You know how to ruin Dad's good things at such a young age. What will you do when you grow up? Go away. She pushed him. Didn't you say you were going out? Get out. Get out. Rong Rui stood up, but then leaned down and kissed her on the lips again. Wait for me to come back and get out with you. Don't go to bed so early. Get out. Rong Rui smiled, took the car key, and went out the door. However, when he got out of the house, the smile on his face did not last long, and his irritation gathered again. The cigarette had been put on the table, so he had to take out another cigarette, lit it, and walked toward his car. He drove to the riverside of Kangchengdong. This was the road to Hunan that led out of the city. Based on his understanding of them, they would definitely go out of the city, stop in Hunan for a day or two, and then set off to find a new location. After waiting for a long time, a dark blue sports car came from a distance. He could tell from the car that it was Bo Xiao. Rong Rui looked down at the time, and it was already 3:49 in the morning. He took out the cigarette from his mouth, put his hand on the steering wheel, and suddenly went across, blocking the front of the sports car. The dark blue sports car suddenly braked to a stop. Rong Rui looked sideways and saw Rong Anna's obviously frightened face in the passenger seat. Useless cousin? Rong Anna saw Rong Rui, unfastened her seatbelt, and was about to get out but was held down. Bo Xiao looked at her coldly and said, Are you crazy? Are you going to walk right into the trap? He is my cousin Xiao. He won't harm me. Rong Anna was convinced. We have been in touch over the years. In order to help me control Li Xiqing, he approached his assistant, and now married his assistant. It is because of his help that we can capture Li Xiqing for so many years. He is one of us. Bo Xiao was skeptical, but Rong Anna insisted. Rong Rui was in the middle again. After thinking for a moment, Bo Xiao nodded, unfastened his seatbelt, and got out of the car together. Rong Rui also got out of the car, threw the cigarette butt on the ground, stamped it out, walked over, and handed over the bank card he had prepared. Rong Anna saw the card and was stunned. Bo Xiao was also stunned and looked at him. Take it. There are still many ways to spend money in the future. I bought these cards from the black market. They are the ones that were not bound to mobile phone messages after they were stolen, and they have not been cancelled for a long time. Don't use your own cards in the future. It's too dangerous. There are 2 million in this card. No one will find out if you use these cards. Useless cousin. Rong Anna was moved and looked at Rong Rue. Chapter 636. Rong Anna hugged Rong Rue back and sobbed. Help me take care of my parents. You also remember to go home early. Your parents miss you very much. Okay. Rong Rue responded, patted her on the back, and quickly released her. He took out a wallet from his pocket and took out a stack of cash. There is not much cash. Take it and take care. Rong Anna took it without hesitation. She couldn't stop her tears and nodded. Take care. I hope to see you in the future, Anna. Rong Rue's eyes were a little red. You will always be my sister. Then he turned to look at Bo Xiao. Take care of her. I will. Bo Xiao nodded, reached out, and took Rong Anna's hand. Let's go. If we delay any longer, they will catch up. I didn't expect Li Xiqing to hide so deeply. Cousin, if you can, help me get revenge. Rong Anna sobbed. I trusted him so much, but I didn't expect this guy to fool us. This guy is too cunning. Okay, I will try. Rong Rue looked at her, a little reluctant but still urged. Let's go, or we won't be able to leave. Rong Anna and Bo Xiao nodded, and Rong Rue quickly moved the car away and let them drive away. Watching the sports car leave, Rong Rue's heart finally fell. After taking out a cigarette case and slowly lighting one, he started the car, turned around, and drove in the direction of home. When he returned home, Chengyu was already asleep, and the baby was lying in the cradle, sleeping soundly. Rong Rue leaned down, kissed her face, and slowly moved to her lips. She turned her head away in disgust and groaned. You smoke so much. Go brush your teeth. Then she looked up at the small alarm clock on the bed. It was already 5 o'clock. She was surprised. You just came back. Where did you go? Rong Rue straightened up, regardless of her disgust, sat on the bed and hugged her. I went to do something big. What big thing? Why do you smoke so much? She pushed him, but he did not move. Are you in a bad mood? Rong Rue hugged her tighter, turned over, and pressed her down. He whispered, I feel better when I see you. Then he kissed her lips. She hit him. The smell is too strong. The baby is still drinking milk. Don't hurt the baby. Go take a bath. Yes, the baby's mother. He straightened up, but still leaned forward. Another kiss. She was angry and kicked him. Go away. However, he slipped away so fast that she did not manage to kick him at all. She heard his proud laughter go away, and the door was closed again. The fake anger on her face slowly disappeared, and was replaced by a happy smile. They had been married for more. Rue, Cheng Rue said. Rue back. Rue. How miserable. Why do I have to take care of 2 children by myself? Oh, dash. Chapter 637. At 2 a.m., a large amount of heroin was found in the main warehouse of the Kingstown branch of the Bow Musical Instrument Company. The president of the branch has been arrested and investigated by the police. After investigation, it was found that there is a bigger leader behind the president of the Bow Musical Instrument Company. He has fled overnight. He has escaped from Kingstown and is still being pursued. The picture on the TV changed. It was a picture of a large group of reporters surrounding an old man who looked like he was in his 50s or 60s. After investigation, it was found that the Bow family had faced a bankruptcy crisis as early as 7 years ago, with a loss of nearly 2 billion yuan. It was the biggest crisis in the history of the Bow family. Then it cooperated with a transoceanic international company, and then came back to life. The police have been involved in the investigation. According to insiders, the absconder is the only son of the head of the Bow Musical Instrument Company. Bo did not respond to the sudden change of the situation. He is currently under the control of the police for investigation. The old man looked at the TV with the remote control, shook his head and sighed. It's terrible. This Bo family should have a good relationship with the Rong family in the capital. How did they suddenly get involved in drugs? Ouch. Li Jianyue, Li Jianqian, and Li Mosen were having breakfast. When she heard what her great-grandfather said, Li Jianyue came over with her small bowl and asked in a sweet voice, "Great-grandfather, what are drugs?" "Drugs are harmful things. You must not touch them. If you touch them, you will be finished for the rest of your life." Old Master Li said earnestly and shook his head. "Ursu must remember that you can't touch drugs." "Oh." Li Jianyue held a small bowl and scooped herself a mouthful of porridge. But as she ate, she dripped it on her beautiful clothes. Li Jianyue looked down and pouted. She looked at the old man and said, "It's dirty. What should I do?" The old man smiled lovingly and took a few tissues to wipe it off for her. He said, "Come on, great-grandfather will feed you." "No, my mother said that I have grown up. In the future, I have to eat by myself and wipe my ass by myself. Otherwise, I won't grow up." Although she said so, she held a small bowl of porridge and ate it in a mess. Seeing the porridge fall on her clothes and on the ground, Li Jianyue jumped back, but she did not expect that with such a jump, the small bowl directly fell to the ground with a bang. When Li Jianyue saw it, she pouted even more. Her big eyes became wet, and she almost cried. She looked at the old man pitifully and said, "It dropped." The old man laughed, took the small bowl, and carried her to the sofa. After wiping the porridge off her clothes with a tissue, he shouted, "Xiaolu, clean up the inside first." Lu Sa was hanging clothes outside. Hearing the old man's voice, she answered. Su Qianxi had just woken up and cleaned up. Walking out of the room, she looked at her watch. It was not yet 7:30. As soon as she came out, she saw a small bowl on the ground and her daughter's pitiful face. Su Qianxi felt a bit of a headache. Pretending to be unhappy, she shouted, "Li Ursu, did you cause trouble again?" Ursu pursed her lips, and tears welled up in her big eyes. She sniffled and whispered, "I didn't do it on purpose. It wanted to run away on its own. I couldn't catch it, so it dropped." "You." Su Qianxi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She cleaned up the food, and then went to the kitchen to get her another bowl. "Come here, Mom will feed you." "Okay." Seeing that her mother did not scold her, Li Jianyue's little face was full of smiles. A pair of short legs dangled off the sofa and ran to the dining room. "Wan Lily, Ursu, come home with Uncle. Uncle will take you to see the goldfish." Li Jianyue, "Uncle, my father wants you to read this pinyin." Chapter 638. Li Jianxian and Li Mosin looked at each other as they ate. Both of them held their own spoons, and they ate one spoon after another smoothly. However, from the moment Su Qianxi sat down, she saw them looking at each other, eating and watching. After a few minutes, Su Qianxi couldn't help but ask, "What are you doing?" Competing in concentration. Li Jianxian did not look back, eating porridge with a spoon, chewing and looking at Li Mosin. Li Mosin's action was similar, nodding and continuing to eat. Buffed. Su Qianxi looked at the two little guys and laughed speechlessly. Finally, the two people finished eating porridge, and they had been looking at each other. "Are you done?" Su Qianxi curiously came over. Li Mosin shook his head. "Unless one of us turns his head first, we can decide the winner." Li Jianxian nodded and stared at Li Mosin. Su Qianxi reached out and covered the eyes of Li Jianxian next to her, turning his head to the side. Li Jianxian was stunned, but immediately shouted, "Mom, you are a burden. I lost." Li Mosin laughed on the opposite side, his blue eyes curved, very beautiful, and then climbed down from the stool and ran to the backyard. Li Jianxian's dark pupils showed dissatisfaction, and his white and tender little face was red with anger. He also climbed down and ran in shouting, "Don't run, this game doesn't count." Li Jianrui watched the two brothers run away, and a pair of eyes looked at Su Qianxi, blinked and said, "Mom, I am full." Su Qianxi knew what she wanted to do at a glance, and took a tissue to wipe her mouth. "Go." Li Jianrui immediately climbed down from the stool, wearing small sandals, and ran to the place where the two boys just disappeared. After Su Qianxi finished eating, it was already 8 o'clock. The tutor hired for the children just came over. The tutor was a single mother, and only had a high school education. There was a child at home who was in middle school and was now in his 30s, but she was very patient and caring. So Su Qianxi chose her to be the children's tutor. A few days later, The children liked this tutor very much, so Su Qianxi decided to stay. After saying hello at the door, Su Qianxi drove to the company. After a busy morning, the bell rang. She straightened her back and stood up. Today, she had an appointment with Lu Yihan in a high-end shopping mall, which was currently the one with the best performance in the city. Su Qianxi planned to inspect the surroundings after dinner. It was a Cantonese restaurant on the first floor of the shopping mall. After walking out of the restaurant, they arrived at the south square of the shopping mall. It was huge and lively. When she entered the room, Lu Yihan had not arrived yet. 10 minutes before their appointment, Su Qianxi was sitting in the private room, scrolling through Weibo on her phone. Suddenly, the waiter outside knocked on the door and said, "Mr. Su, someone is looking for you outside." "Who? Let him in." "Well, he hopes that you can go to the square. This way, please." Su Qianxi raised an eyebrow in surprise. What was he playing at this time? Turning off the phone, Su Qianxi picked up her bag and walked outside. The waiter led her to the south square. The square was empty. Outside, Su Qianxi did not see Lu Yihan at all. Turning around, the waiter had gone back into the restaurant. Suddenly, a little boy ran over, looking about 7 or 8 years old, holding a flower in his hand. It was a calla lily. "The flower of calla lily is eternal." Su Qianxi took it, smiled, and asked, "Who asked you to give it to me?" Chapter 639. Which, sir? However, before the little boy answered, he smiled and ran away. Su Qianxi looked down at the calla lily in her hand, smiled, and shouted, "Mr. Lu, stop playing. I know it's you." However, there was a brisk footstep in front of her, and this time it was a girl. The flower language of the forget-me-not is eternal love. Su Qianxi took it, and the girl quickly ran away. After a while, another girl ran over and handed her a purple tulip. "The purple tulip is Mr. S' endless love for you." After one left, there was always another person coming over and handing her a beautiful fresh flower. "The white lotus represents Mr. S' sincerity and the purest faith. The flower language of honeysuckle is I want to give you all my best. The bellflower represents Mr. S' most loyal and sincere love for you. Lavender represents gratitude and protection. 99 lilies are willing to be with you for a long time, 100 years." This was the day that Su Qianxi had heard the most flower language. The more flowers she received, the more guilty she felt. Su Qianxi looked at the large bouquet of various flowers in her hand and felt more guilty for Lu Yihan. Today, she asked Lu Yihan out to tell him that she regretted it. But why did Lu Yihan do this? How could she say it next? There were more and more people around. Everyone thought that Su Qianxi would be happy, but after seeing her expression, they all looked at each other. Someone picked up his phone and took a video. Suddenly, there was an exclamation. Opposite where Su Qianxi was standing, there were beautiful bicycles riding in. The body of the bicycles was transparent, and the riders were carrying baskets full of fiery roses into the square. Each basket was full, fresh, and beautiful, and the light fragrance quickly drifted. The bicycles stopped next to Su Qianxi, and one by one, the bicycles quickly stopped around the edge of the square. 5, 10, 15. The number of bicycles was constantly increasing, and baskets of fiery roses were carried to the center of the square. Each one was bright red, fresh, and vibrant. The people around exclaimed and were shocked. "Awesome, brother word. There are so many roses. Are there 9,999 roses? Are you stupid? How is that possible? It must be more than that. There were at least 999 flowers in each basket. Damn, it wasn't over yet? How many are there? Quick, take a video and post it on Weibo. He's too rich." Su Qianxi was shocked to see more and more riders coming in. Those full flower baskets were placed in the center of the square. Bicycles went out one by one, and another came in. After a while there were dozens of flower baskets. Someone at the back was counting and shouting, 88, 89, 90, 97, 98, 99, 100. After entering the last number, everyone heaved a sigh of relief and shouted, "It's finally over. My goodness, this is the first time I've seen so many flowers in my life." "Qianqian." Lu Yihan's voice came from behind her. Hearing the voice, Su Qianxi's back stiffened. Chapter 640. Ihan. Su Qianxi felt uncomfortable, turned around and looked at him. Just when Su Qianxi turned around, Lu Yihan saw the large bouquet of lilies and various flowers in her arms, and his eyes darkened. Then he looked up at the dense sea of red flowers. The dense roses were divided into two sides, and there was a long path in the middle. Suddenly, the girls around screamed crazily and shouted, "What is that?" "Ah, the latest international robot. Who is this? How could they be so generous?" "Awesome." A robot came straight over, with a wire tied to its waist. There was a red roller on the wire. When the robot walked, the roller was pulled, and a layer of red was laid on the ground. Su Qianxi saw it, slightly dazed, and looked at Lu Yihan. Lu Yihan did not speak, also looking at the little robot. The little robot walked slowly, and it took 10 minutes to reach Su Qianxi. The red carpet on the roller was just finished and fell to the ground, forming a long red carpet path. The little robot came up, bowed to Su Qianxi, and said in a mechanical voice, "Dear Mrs. Li, everything is ready. Please accept my apology." When the robot's voice fell, a small compartment popped open on its stomach. A small claw held a red velvet box and handed it out. Su Qianxi held the flowers and took the red velvet box with one hand. Opening it, there was a pendant inside, beautiful platinum inlaid with shining rubies. This was a swan. Su Qianxi saw it. Her pupils suddenly shrank, and subconsciously reached out to hold the swan necklace on her neck, and her heart suddenly sped up. The little robot also took out a big note from the inside compartment, handed it to Su Qianxi and said, "Dear Mrs. Li, please accept my apology." On the piece of paper, the bold and vigorous handwriting was impressively eye-catching. There was not much content, just 4 words, "I am back." Tears gathered at some point, and the bean-sized water drops fell on the paper, dipping a corner of the pen on it. The crowd exclaimed without warning, shouting, "God, who is that? So familiar. I must have seen it somewhere before. Isn't this that guy?" Hearing the voices around her, she suddenly raised her head and looked at the end of the red carpet. It was noon, the time when the sun was at its brightest in the 24 hours of the day. The blazing and scorching light shrouded a tall and slender figure, walking step by step against the light. Su Qianxi's eyes were blurred, and the strong light made her tear up even more. He was wearing a suit that fitted him perfectly. He was tall and slender, but he stood upright. Every step he took seemed to bring with it a dazzling light. He didn't have much of an expression on his face, but his facial features were exquisite and sharp. His jawline was tight, and his deep and cold eyes carried an indescribable gentleness as he slowly walked forward. He was holding a large bouquet of roses in his hand. They were bright like fire and glistening red, making his unusually fair skin look even more tender and youthful. Su Qianxi looked at him, tears rolling down her cheeks uncontrollably. Almost subconsciously, she walked in his direction. Chapter 641. Surrounded by loud cheers, many people recognized who this person was. This person was probably known by everyone in the entire Kingstown. However, after 4 years, everyone thought he was dead. Now he actually appeared here in this way? Oh my god, a zombie! Su Qianxi stared at him and approached step by step. The Li Xiqing in front of her was getting more and more real, closer and closer, and more familiar. Li Xiqing was holding a large bouquet of flowers, a pair of cold and sharp eyes as dark as the night sky, so dazzling that it made her feel like she was in a dream. Su Qianxi suddenly did not dare to go over, holding the flowers sent by those people. She opened her mouth and asked in a trembling voice, "Is it you?" Her voice was not loud, with a strong sense of testing, choking and trembling. She was careful, for fear that if her voice was too loud, he would disappear like before. Many times, he had appeared in front of her, but as long as she slightly moved or breathed, he would disappear. No matter how she looked for him, he never appeared by her side. She was scared, so scared. What if this was not real? What if this was just an illusion, just her imagination? What to do? Hearing this, Li Xiqing's eyes curved. Holding the flowers in one hand, he opened his arms to her with the other. His voice was cold and slow, with an irresistible gentleness. He said, "I'm back." It was him, it was him. It was really him. Su Qianxi's hands trembled, and the large bouquet of lilies and other flowers in her hands all fell to the ground. She took a step and ran forward. Her long hair flew up because of running. Her petite and light figure, under a lot of exclamations, hit the tall figure. Su Qianxi reached out and hugged him fiercely. Li Xiqing's body was as steady as a mountain, hugging her hard in his arms. Su Qianxi only felt her waist was tight, and an indescribable wonderful feeling made her sob. The real touch, the real temperature, the real. It's really you, it's really you. Su Qianxi buried her face in his chest, and couldn't help crying. Li Xiqing, you bastard. Putting her hands on his waist, she hit his back hard and cursed. Bastard, beast, bastard, ungrateful. Li Xiqing held her waist and felt her reel in his arms, feeling indescribably satisfied. At the same time, there was also a long-lost happiness that wrapped around him. Kissing her hair, he whispered, "It's me, it's all me." Su Qianxi wiped all her tears and snot on his new clothes, crying unscrupulously, like a child who had been wronged and suddenly saw an adult she could rely on. This kind of happiness was self-evident. Holding him firmly, she refused to let go. She did not dare to let go, holding him tighter and tighter. There were cheers all around. It was unknown who started it, but the voices of men and women mingled together and sang loudly, "You're finally here. Fortunately, I didn't give up." Happiness doesn't come easily, so I cherish it even more. Mr. Li. Yes. Li Xiqing. Yes. Honey. Chapter 642. I waited for you for 4 years. Su Qianxi hugged him, and her crying gradually stopped. I always believed that you were not dead. He held her in his arms and did not speak, only holding her tighter and tighter. For years ago, I gave birth to your child. Did you know that? It's a boy and a girl. And your company. I became the president of your company. Did you know that? Pursing his lips, Li Xiqing held her, his eyes burning. After a long time he slowly said, I know. He knew everything. But the more he knew, the more guilty he felt. She was just a woman, and she had to bear so much alone. He was the biggest culprit. Su Qianxi suddenly smiled and had calmed down a lot. Her voice was low, with a nasal voice and choked. She said, Look, I can live very well without you. Li Xiqing held her up with one hand and whispered in her ear, I'm back. You will be better. Su Qianxi put her arms around his neck, and the people around them echoed, shouting, Kiss, kiss, kiss. Su Qianxi blushed. She had wanted to kiss him, but she suddenly shrank back because of their shouting. She patted him. Let me down. Li Xiqing chuckled, let go of her, and whispered, Go back first. Look at you, you are wet. You are wet. I am not talking about that. What are you thinking about? Su Qianxi did not think about that. At this moment, hearing his words, her face immediately became hot. She immediately pushed him away and said, Pervert. Li Xiqing reached out and pulled her back, whispering in her ear. His voice was soft and distant. With a hint of teasing, he whispered, I'm wet too. If you don't believe me, feel it. Come on, feel inside. As he spoke, he grabbed her hand and put it into his clothes. Su Qianxi quickly pulled her hand away, pushed him away, and then turned away. He chased after her with the roses, and reached out to hold her hand. He pulled her and stuffed the rose in his hand into her arms. Holding it in her arms, Su Qianxi looked at the big bundle of red roses, and the dense sea of red flowers on the square and said, It's too wasteful. Even if you have money, you can't spend it like this. There were a total of 100 flower baskets in the square, and each basket contained 999 roses. Plus the 99 she was holding, there were 99,999 roses in total. This was too extravagant. Li Xiqing smiled, pinched her nose and teased. After being a CEO for a few years, you know it's not easy for your husband to make money? Su Qianxi was about to say something, but seeing his obviously thinner face, she felt sorry and reached out to touch it. He had become much thinner and whiter. He was really locked up, so that's why he became so white, right? It was so white that the veins on the back of his hand could be clearly seen. Upon closer inspection, it was somewhat frightening. Su Qianxi almost couldn't hold back her tears again. Resisting the urge to cry, she whispered, "Let's go home first?" Li Xiqing's eyes softened. Holding her little hand, he took it down and placed it in his palm, saying softly, "Okay." At this moment, Su Qianxi suddenly remembered that there was another person behind her. But looking back, in the crowd, Lu Yihan was nowhere to be seen. Chapter 643. Where is Lu Yihan? Su Qianxi felt even more upset, and looked at Li Xiqing. "Did you give me these flowers? Or did you think it was Lu Yihan?" Li Xiqing raised an eyebrow, and narrowed his eyes dangerously. Looking at her, he tightened his grip on her little hand. Su Qianxi pursed her lips and said worriedly, "Today I asked Lu Yihan out for dinner. Now we haven't eaten yet. Let's go eat." Li Xiqing did not wait for her to finish her words, and put his arm around her waist, walking toward the mall. Su Qianxi was hugged, holding a large bouquet of flowers in her hand. The onlookers around all cast envious looks at Su Qianxi. She had not felt this way for a long time. Su Qianxi's face was slightly red, and she slightly turned her face in the direction of Li Xiqing, covering her face. Seeing this, Li Xiqing's lips curved imperceptibly and asked, "What do you want to eat?" "I just booked a private room and ordered food. It's here." Su Qianxi pointed to the Cantonese restaurant they had just come out of. Li Xiqing put his arm around her and went inside. Back in the private room, Su Qianxi did not see Lu Yihan, and was a bit disappointed. However, when she walked in, she found a note on the table. It was folded into a small square. When she opened it, she saw Lu Yihan's familiar handwriting. "You win Qianqian happiness forever." Seeing these words, Su Qianxi felt even more sad, and her eyes were burning. Li Xiqing reached out and took the note. Seeing the strong handwriting on it, he raised his eyebrows, and then directly crumpled it into a ball, stuffed it into his pocket and asked, "Eat?" Su Qianxi gave him a stare, asked the waiter to help serve the dishes, and walked to the bathroom in the private room. Just when she was washing her hands, she saw Li Xiqing also coming in. Su Qianxi saw him and did not care. After wiping her hands with a tissue, she was about to go out, but he pulled her in. He closed the door and pushed her, pinning her against the door. Su Qianxi's heart suddenly raced, and she looked at him in shock. There was a strange and familiar throbbing in her heart. The feeling that she hadn't felt for a long time made her a bit dazed. Before she came back to herself, he kissed her and swallowed all the words she wanted to say. With one hand around her waist and the other on her head, Li Xiqing kissed her very hard, with rough longing. He forced her lips and teeth apart, penetrated deeply, and hooked her tongue, almost going crazy. Too long, it had been too long. For years was a torment for anyone. Li Xiqing circled her with his arms, his movements wild and frenzied. Almost instinctively, his big hand moved down, lifted her dress, and slowly reached inside. Startled, she reached out and gently pushed him away. However, Li Xiqing had been celibate for 4 years, and they had been apart for 4 years. At this moment he had already lost his mind. Leaning forward, Su Qianxi could clearly feel the fiery longing, so fierce, so scary. Li Xiqing left her lips and moved down to her chin, her neck, and her collarbone. She had not been touched like this for a long time, and her body was almost numb. Subconsciously, she put her arms around his neck and looked up, breathing heavily. Chapter 644. He picked her up and pressed her against the sink. He unzipped her back, untied her belt, and moved down step by step. Su Qianxi gasped and grabbed his big hand that was about to invade her. Her voice was intermittent. "No, no." He broke her hand away and held it. Fingers interlocked, he sighed. His voice was low and cold, and he was panting like a beast at night, which made her subconsciously clamp her legs. Aroused, he said, "I can't wait. I miss you so much. I miss you so much." "Me too. I miss you so much." However, before Su Qianxi could say anything, she clearly felt his big hand moving up. His slightly rough hand trembled, and she couldn't help letting out a shy moan. However, reason still won over impulse. Su Qianxi lifted her foot and kicked him away. No. There are more important things to do. Li Xiqing's face was bitter. He grabbed her hand and touched it, that had already swollen and boiled. He looked at her with some grievance. Honey, it hurts. Su Qianxi saw him like this and suddenly chuckled. You really look like your son like this. Li Xiqing's expression became serious. He looked at her fiercely and gritted his teeth. It's my son who looks like me. All right, stop it. Su Qianxi pushed him away and said with a warning look. When we go home after dinner, the kids haven't seen you yet. You really have the heart to do that. He looked at her. In his deep eyes, there was a bright color, but his eyes were slightly curved, with unspeakable grievance. He reached out and held her in his arms, his body close to hers. He gently rubbed against her and asked again. You really have the heart to do that? She had not been with him for a long time. This kind of touch was a bit strange for Su Qianxi. It was a bit scary, and there was some indescribable joy. But more than that, it was shyness. Su Qianxi had always been shy. She blushed and looked away. She pried his hand away and said, You said it yourself. I will find you in the future. When you come back, I can punish you however I want. Reminded by her, Li Xiqing suddenly remembered what he had said in the past. Closing his eyes in distress, Li Xiqing did not want to let go of her and whispered, How about we change the punishment to another time? What do you think? She glared at him, pushed him away and said, I'm starving. That was her trump card against Li Xiqing. As expected, he relented and straightened her clothes. Sighing helplessly, he said, Okay, let's eat. She straightened her dress and walked out the door. The waiter had almost finished serving the food. Seeing Su Qianxi's red and swollen lips, he looked down and walked away after the dishes were served. After a few minutes, Li Xiqing came out. He looked calm and naturally sat next to Su Qianxi. Su Qianxi's dishes were very simple. Teriyaki ribs, eggplant with garlic sauce, 3 cups of goose, stir-fried macaroni, and 2 cups of green olive soup. Li Xiqing saw the dishes and reluctantly accepted them. Fortunately, they were all Su Qianxi's favorites. When he thought that she originally wanted to eat with Lu Yihan, he felt unspeakably disgusted. Su Qianxi did not notice his strangeness, put the rice in front of him, and gave him a piece of ribs. Eat more. You are too thin now, and your figure is not as good as before. It feels uncomfortable. Chapter 645. Subconsciously touching his body. Li Xiqing soon noticed the naughty smile in Su Qianxi's eyes. Pretending to be sad, he sighed, then grabbed her hand and said, Touch inside. It's very comfortable. Do you want to try? Su Qianxi reached out her hand and was grabbed by him into the suit. She really felt inside through the shirt. His muscles were firm and elastic. But why did he look so much thinner? Su Qianxi couldn't help but pinch it. Li Xiqing's eyes became darker and darker, with the desire of a beast faintly looking at her. Meeting such a gaze, Su Qianxi immediately knew what he wanted to do. She wanted to take her hand back, but he held it tightly. He leaned over and whispered, Is it very comfortable? Knock knock. The door of the private room was knocked, and Su Qianxi felt like she was struck by lightning. She immediately pulled her hand back and pushed him, blushing. Li Xiqing pursed his lips and slightly raised the corner of his mouth. It was very light, but it could be seen that he was in a very good mood. The waiter quickly brought the dishes up. Seeing Su Qianxi's look, he did not look at her. After the dishes were served, he opened the door and left. Eat. Su Qianxi kicked him under the table, blushing and scolding. You are not being honest at all. Li Xiqing did not care. Looking indifferent, he chuckled and said in a charming voice, I haven't seen you for so long. It's not normal to be honest. Su Qianxi saw his teasing eyes and decided to ignore him, lowering her head to eat. However, he never looked away, gazing at her with burning eyes. Su Qianxi felt her cheeks were getting hotter and hotter, and her head was getting lower and lower. Are you eating from the bowl or eating? Li Xiqing chuckled and reached out to hold her head up. Eat. Don't look at me. Su Qianxi glared at him and pushed his head away. If you look at me again, I won't be able to eat anymore. Being stared at to the point that one's heart was like a monkey's gallop, and one's blood surged. No one was able to resist this kind of gaze. With regret in his eyes, Li Xiqing sighed. No touching, no kissing, no touching, and no looking. This punishment is too heavy. She couldn't help smiling and kicked him. Hurry up and eat. Okay. Li Xiqing finally calmed down, picked up his chopsticks and ate elegantly. His every movement was naturally noble and elegant, and it was as if there was no difference from before. However, his eating speed was much faster, and his appetite was also much larger. The last thing the waiter served was a bowl of wheat buns, half a dozen. Li Xiqing ate 5 of them, and the food was soon gone. Fortunately, Su Qianxi never ate much, and was full after a few bites. However, after eating out so many times, it was the first time she had seen a table so clean. Su Qianxi secretly clicked her tongue, and felt even more distressed. Seeing this extremely familiar face and short black hair, she subconsciously looked at his ear. No piercings. She remembered that he was wearing a sapphire cross earring. Was it her imagination? Taking a sip of tea, she looked at him, wanting to say something. Seeing her like that, he chuckled. What do you want to say? It was you at the amusement park last time, wasn't it? The person who saved her and her daughter must be him. Chapter 646. Li Xiqing's eyes softened and he nodded. It's me. Your hair. Wig. Where are the earrings? He took out a sapphire earring from his pocket and gently twisted it into an ear clip. Su Qianxi understood, but after confirming that it was him, she felt a little sad. She felt wronged and choked. Do you know how long I looked for you last time? I was also regarded as a psycho. They all thought you were dead. I called your name in the amusement park for so long. Why didn't you come out? He stood up from the chair, hugged her from behind and whispered, I won't do it again, I swear. You said the same last time. I didn't swear last time. Li Xiqing chuckled and lifted her up. I promise, I won't do it again. Really? Of course. When he said this, his eyes were deeper. Looking at her profile, there was an indescribable tenderness in his eyes. Su Qianxi clearly noticed it, and her heart skipped a beat. Glancing at him, she got up from the chair, took her bag and walked out. Li Xiqing looked at her back and laughed. He picked her up and quickly followed her, paid the bill, and left the restaurant. As soon as she got in the car, Su Qianxi received a call from Luo Zhan. Hello, sister-in-law? Yeah. Did you see anything special after 12 o'clock at noon? I heard that someone put 99,999 roses in your mall. It was beautiful, but that person. Luo Zhan was tentative, afraid that he would touch Su Qianxi's heart with the wrong word. It's Li Xiqing. Luo Zhan was petrified and dumbfounded. He's back. Su Qianxi smiled. This time it's true. He's really back. Luo Zhan couldn't believe it. After a long while he recovered and said, Sister-in-law, so, the videos and pictures on Weibo are all true? Yes. Oh my god. Luo Zhan was like a madman. His body rolled over, and then he fell off the chair. He screamed, but then his voice suddenly became louder. He shouted excitedly, What about the second brother? Where is the second brother? Let him answer the phone. Su Qianxi clearly knew Luo Zhan's mood. She smiled gently, and her eyes couldn't help but feel a little hot. She handed the phone to Li Xiqing and said, Luo Zhan. Li Xiqing took it and did not make a sound. He curled his lips and waited for the other side to speak first. Luo Zhan was silent for a while, then shouted, Second brother? Yes. Oh my god. Luo Zhan's voice was full of joy. It's really you? Say something. It's me. These 2 simple words made Luo Zhan's mood, which had been suppressed for many years, suddenly burst into a shocking ecstasy. His eyes were burning, and Luo Zhan only felt an indescribable emotion welling up. When he spoke again, his voice was already thick with a nasal sound. It's really you. My god, where are you? Get ready to go home. Huh? Luo Zhan could not tell what he was feeling at the moment. Was he happy? Far more than that. His mind was already muddy, and his mind was full of one message. Second brother is still alive, second brother is not dead. Luo Zhan had lived for 31 years, and it was the first time he felt that he could be so neurotic. Chapter 647. Li Xiqing seemed to laugh and said, "Slow down." Okay, slow down." Luo Zhan hung up the phone, said goodbye to his men, and went out the door. At the same time, she dialed Ming's number. Ming had not been well in the past few years. He pushed all the blame for his second brother's death onto himself. In addition to Yu Lily's annoyance, Ming vented it all on his work. Recently, the speed of Group's development in China had far exceeded the results of previous years, all because of Ming's dedication. When Ming received Luo Zhan's plan, the meeting had just begun. Seeing that it was Luo Zhan, Ming did not care, turned off the phone on silent, and continued the meeting. Luo Zhan called several times, and finally couldn't get through, so he drove in the direction of the old house of the Li family. When the car just arrived at the door of the old house, he received a call from Li Jinnan. Su Qianxi was driving, and Li Xiqing directly answered the car phone. "Sister-in-law, I just posted on Weibo." "Third brother," Li Xiqing shouted with a faint smile in his voice. "Come home. I am afraid of being beaten." Li Jinnan heard this voice, was silent for a moment, and then said, "Alive?" Li Xiqing's smile widened, and he responded, "Alive." Li Jinnan seemed to laugh, and his voice was very light. Soon, Li Jinnan hung up the phone, and the busy tone came. The car had stopped, and Su Qianxi couldn't wait. She opened the door, ran to the passenger seat, and pulled Li Xiqing out. It could be seen that Su Qianxi was in a very good mood. Li Xiqing's eyes were softer, and he let her pull him toward the door. But she was not in a hurry to pull him in. She let him stand at the door, got in and shouted, "Daesu, Ursu, Mosen, Grandpa, Mom and Dad, are you all there? Come out, something big has happened." Daesu, Ursu, and little Mosen were all painting in the room. Hearing their mother's cry, they all looked at the tutor. Grandpa was preparing to take a nap in the room. At this moment, hearing Su Qianxi's cry, he came out with a cane and said with a smile, "What's wrong? Why are you so happy?" "Grandpa." Su Qianxi greeted him and asked, "Where are my parents?" Qin Shuhua quickly came out. Seeing Su Qianxi, she asked, "What's wrong?" "Mom." Daesu and Ursu ran out, and Li Mosen followed closely behind. The tutor also came out. Su Qianxi saw it and smiled. "You can get off work today." The tutor was a little surprised, but she quickly nodded, went back to pick up her bag, and left work. Su Qianxi was preparing Grandpa and said, "Grandpa, if Xiqing comes back, will you be very happy?" Captain Li was shocked and sighed sadly. He said, "Qianqian, Xiqing has been gone for so many years. You should face the reality. Lu is very good. Why don't you like him?" "This, Shu." The smile on Su Qianxi's face became brighter. Looking at Captain Li, she said, "If he hears it, he will not be happy. He is standing outside now." When Li Jianyue heard that, she blinked her big round eyes like black grapes and said, "Is it Daddy?" As she spoke, she ran outside with her two short legs and suddenly shouted, "Ah! You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.